Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today with episode 278 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
And I'm Dustin with Colin's Last Stand and Handsome Phantom.
Gentlemen, here we go. How are you all doing? Let's start off with that.
Not bad. It's Friday. I feel like this show's always a party because it's Friday, you know?
Right?
Yeah, it's always a little
We
easier
landed
on a
great
Friday.
day. For sure. That weekend attractions there. Like for me, it's my PS5. I'm looking forward to really just spending a lot of time with it. Nearing the end of Demon's Souls remake here. Dustin, I saw you finished it, so
That's
I'm excited
right.
to pick your brain about that. But we have a lot of games to talk about, from CapCom Leaks to Game Awards to IO Interactive announcements, PlayStation's Jim Ryan opening up about the future of exclusives, and of course, your Patron questions. This show is supported over on patreon.com/Mr. Matty Plays. If you want, you can get early access ad-free over there. I need to emphasize ad-free because our free mobile version on like Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all of that is it does have ads on it now. So I want to make sure that's very clear to people that it is ad-free over on the Patreon. And if you want a little bit more of us, we have a bonus show we do every single Wednesday called An Extra Slice of Ham. You probably hear me ramble about something. It's been more of a dialogue of what you are all talking about. 2 weeks ago, we talked about what games you're playing. And then this week, we talked about the game of the year nominations and overall what you thought of them. So if you want to get in on the conversation even more, you can fire away in the Patron Questions section on our Discord or Extra Slice, and you'll be involved in both shows. We're pretty on top of getting all of you involved. And then one day our show will grow too much, and then we'll have to pick and choose. So get in now while we're irrelevant. You know, that's what I always tell everyone, right? With that, gentlemen, what have you been playing? What have you been up to? I always look forward to hearing from you guys, right? Like this has become a highlight of my week. It's like my social hour. I get to catch up with my children. Karak, less so my child. But
I was gonna say,
It's like Benjamin Button shit going on here, if that's the case. Damn.
Dustin, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
27.
You're older than me too. Okay.
Just by a little bit, though,
here.
right?
Yeah, by a little bit.
You're
yeah.
26.
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I?
Dude, I just did the same thing.
I actually think I'm 20. I'll have to do the math later. Yeah, I
Dude,
think I'm 26. Yeah.
I know that feel.
Yeah. No,
For
you know
sure.
what? I'm 25. I'm 25
Wow.
because my brother is 30. He's
Okay.
always got 5 years on me. I always used his birthday to gauge my own. That's how I do it. All right. I'm 25 for those who don't know. And Dustin is the king of Demon's Souls remake. You've beat it.
Oh, yeah, I
What a
have beat
legend.
it. Yeah.
Let's hear about it.
So, obviously, I mean, the main thing everyone's talking about this game is how gorgeous it is. And I think that continues throughout the entire experience. There's definitely some standout levels that are just so cool. And yeah, my only complaint about this game is that it's remade very faithfully. And so that applies to the design of the game almost completely. And so there's some things in it that like I get, but I just don't like. Like, and it's weird because I think they've kind of flip-flopped. Like in Dark Souls 3, you get a checkpoint like constantly. There's so many checkpoints to the point that I think it's a little too easy. This game, since it's, the origin, has a lot of moments where if you die, you could be looking at a pretty extended redo of what you just did.
Oh, yeah. I have learned that lately. Oh, no.
And dude, the most annoying aspect to me is when you have a long trek between your starting point and a boss that you keep dying. It's just one of those things that I'm glad that they changed it, because it's just annoying. It's not even that it's too hard, right? For the most part, anytime that I was at a checkpoint and I was trying to get to a boss, once I got my path down, it wasn't hard. It was just every time I died, it was annoying. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But overall, I think that this is the PS5 killer app, which I say that kind of with asterisks because I understand this game is not going to be for everybody, and I'm guessing a killer app should be for everybody, but I don't know, maybe not. That's just everyone's personal taste. But I thought it was fantastic. I recommend to anyone who loves Souls games in general. And yeah, I really liked it. I think I'm going to do a second playthrough, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
There's
wow,
so
nice.
many other things right now that,
Right.
like, I really want to play Call of Duty, if I'm being honest. Which I
Dude.
saw that you really liked, Maddie. Good segue.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We're on a roll these first 5 minutes. Let's hope we can keep it up.
That's right.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about Demon's Souls Remake in a few, but yeah, I beat the Black Ops Cold War campaign this week. I did a review on it. A lot of people were pissed off because I liked it, because I guess some people were having issues with it.
Yeah, fuck you for liking something, Maddie.
Yeah, how dare I? Are you right? I said, are you right? Yes, you are right. Am I right though? Yeah, I really liked the campaign. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was very different in a lot of ways. It still had as Karak mentioned last week, a lot of explosions, a lot of big Michael Bay moments for sure. I feel like that's almost a little personality of Call of Duty, although some will call it uninventive, and I totally get that too. But I liked, there were some stealth missions in there, and they were pretty open-ended, and things you could do were optional. There were multiple ways to go about your missions. Like, it was good. It was good. And then there's a pretty big plot twist, and the ending is very strong. It left a good taste in my mouth. It really had me excited, because I know one of the complaints with Modern Warfare was, hey, they had these moments where they really had something strong going on and they pulled their punch, where it feels like Black Ops Cold War actually took it a step further, put some choice in your hands, and you could just toss someone off a building if you made that decision to do so. And then for me, it excites me because what are they going to do next? Because it seems like they're exploring more and more. I don't know if it's like Activision saying, hey, we need more explosions and gunplay. Would it be Call of Duty if you're crawling around stealthing the whole time? But the best missions in this game were the ones that were quiet. You were disguised. You're walking around. You're poisoning someone's drink to get a key card to go somewhere. Or you could, instead of doing that, I think get someone else accused of doing something and then take their key card. Like, there's a lot of ways to go about it. So it was a really, really enjoyable campaign. Highly recommend it to anyone who's got the game. Is it worth buying the game for? I don't think so, because it's very short and it's not highly replayable. But
are you playing on
awesome.
PS5?
Yes.
How was the adaptive triggers? Because what's weird for me is that when Karak, was it last week or maybe the week before, you were saying that like you weren't too hot on it and felt they overhyped it. But I've seen opposite where people are like, this is incredible. So I have no idea whether
I think Karak and I sit in the same area on DualSense where I'm not hyped about it at all. I don't really get it. It's just a bigger PlayStation controller, and I appreciate it for that. So far, I think Astro's Playroom is the only time I've felt what this controller. Yeah, exactly. Because it's based around the controller, so it showed a lot of its potential. But Call of Duty is a strong example of, I think, overhype, because what happens is you do feel that left trigger. There's a little bit of extra pressure because you can kind of feel your character lifting the gun. At first, it feels awkward, like something's wrong with your controller, and then you realize, and that's an adjustment, right? You realize, okay, I'm playing with these new types of triggers. When you start to shoot, though, it's usually just a little bit of resistance, and then it just vibrates in that trigger, and the pacing of the vibration changes per the rate of fire of that weapon. So to simplify, it's just like different vibrations for different weapons, but they're not so distinct. They don't all feel different. It was that, I call it, slight bit of immersion that helped with the campaign. And I think that's the idea of DualSense. We talked about it with Demon's Souls Remake, how, I don't know, like rolling through some boxes and kicking around the debris, or like your sword hitting a wall, you hear a dink and you feel that vibration in maybe the right side of your controller because you used your right hand. That type of stuff is cool. And so it did it in a slight, subtle way. But after that, I just wasn't super impressed with it. I turned it off and went to multiplayer, just because I don't see them doing it for every PS5 version, because so many people are going to turn it off because it does put you at a disadvantage, because you have more resistance when you're aiming in, and you have the vibrations when you're shooting, and it can fuck up your aim. Like, people want to go in and do well, which has been a problem with people as well, is like the skill-based matchmaking. So it's not a perfect package, but I do recommend people give it a look, because they are trying some new ideas. They have a cool mode in multiplayer, Fire Team, Dirty Bomb. It is pretty much like Warzone and like Battlefield and I think Demolition, almost all put together. So you kill enemies, you get uranium, you put that uranium in a bomb, but it's like a 40-man giant map, and everyone's like dropping in on parachutes. It's very chaotic, very fun team-based mode. But I've rambled enough. It's something you should check it out if you own the game.
I really want to get this game. I would have to get it on PC just because something happened in my brain. I can't play FPS games with a controller anymore, which is weird, because I played for years on controller, and then I switched to playing a lot of multiplayer games on PC, and now I can't It's embarrassing, honestly, when I try to play with a controller now.
I wanted to ask both of you a question about Demon's Souls Remake. It's been on my mind since 2 nights ago when I went through probably one of the hardest times of my life. So I'm on World 3-2. This is, for those who don't know, the level after the Prison of something. I think Prison of Hope is what it's called.
Prison of Hope. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the mission after that, this Latria or something like that. I'm still getting the names
With the
down.
gargoyles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gargoyle. Okay, so let's talk about the Man-Eater boss. Have you gentlemen fought this? Karak, I don't know if you're shaking your head like you haven't, or
I don't remember this at all, and I haven't
okay.
played I haven't played enough of the new one to get there.
Okay, Dustin.
Yeah,
you can share my anguish.
Oh, dude, it was awful. I mean, it's just
really
an
bad.
annoying boss because they can charge you and push you off the edge. That's the most annoying part.
It's such a narrow stage. It's so horrible.
Dude.
And then the run up has that Cthulhu-like monster, that mind flare.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, right? That's I posted on Twitter with all hatred in my heart. I speak for everyone. I say, fuck this guy.
You can dodge that
Fuck
guy.
him.
You can just run past him, which is what I did. Yeah.
But just sometimes he would like lock you up with that green attack and then pick you up and eat your face. And you're like, oh, there goes another grass. And here we go again.
Have you beat the Man-Eater yet?
Yeah, I've finished every world except one. I'm on 1-3 now. So I'm in the inner ward.
Directly after that, because that guy's annoying, the Cthulhu guy on those big stairs. But then directly after, there's like the same situation, only worse. That was
2 more.
Yeah.
2 more.
Dude, so here's a question for you, Maddie, and maybe Karak as well. There are some purists out there that are like, you have to play the game and you can't summon anybody. And sometimes I summon and sometimes I don't. And for the Man-Eater, I summoned someone because it was still hard with someone summoning me. Like, I think that they ended up dying during the fight. And so I still had to go and finish it. So how do you feel about summoning?
See, the thing is I look at it this way, and I'm a huge fan of Neo, and I feel like co-op adds to these games because Neo does it really well where they scale the boss health, they add maybe some more mechanics, and it's a fun experience to conquer a really tough boss with your friends. So I feel like it's very purist to say like, oh, you shouldn't be playing like with a online person or whatever. So I've tried to summon in, like I was struggling with. I shouldn't say I struggled with. I beat him on my second try, but I was very scared of the old hero, which is on 4-2. And I tried to summon in. Someone summoned in, and it actually fucked me up because for those who don't know, this boss is blind, so he goes based off of sound. It's a really cool mechanic, so you have to be quiet. This asshole runs in and starts just shooting spells at him, and he just wipes us both out. So I think there is a time and a place to summon. I don't think it's a bad thing though. I remember. In most Souls games, like in Bloodborne, even I summoned for that. Dustin, you will know the 3-person boss fight where there's shadows of something.
The Shadow of Yharnam, is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Those guys
there
are
were
the
3 of them
worst.
because you have like one long range attacker, one's like quick up close. Just very tough boss fight. I do recall summoning for that. I don't know if I summoned to beat them, but I do recall summoning for that one. So. It is one of those things where my biggest issue really with the game, and you touched on it, was and it still is so far. I shouldn't talk like I beat it, but it is those long treks after you die. You could tell the bonfire system was very, very much a big innovation for that series.
The other thing too is I just hate the grasses. Like,
oh, you don't?
I way prefer the Estus system or whatever. I mean, it's Estus, and Karak just disappeared.
I'll be back in a second. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It pops. It just that happens.
That's actually crazy.
It happened perfectly when it transitioned, and it was like you were like in Harry Potter with the whatever disappearing thing. Anyway,
I'll be back there at some point.
For those who don't know who are listening on audio, Dustin's talking, and Karak just like his thing flashed, and Karak usually has a green screen on, and we see the green screen background. We don't see Karak now. Karak's there.
He's back.
There he is. Sorry, Dustin.
Yeah, I was just I way prefer the Estus system, or the gourd seeds, which is in Sekiro, or I can't remember what it's called in Bloodborne. They're all the same mechanic, just called different things. So.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I like the limited aspect of it, because then I got to choose, do I level up? Do I go and buy some grass? But I've noticed towards the end game now, I've gone to the inner ward. I've farmed those 2 soldiers for half grass, and then I've ran to that vendor and done like late moon grass. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of stupid now, because now I'm just spending souls and taking time away from the better parts of the game to just be able to heal, when it's much easier to just rest and have them refill and just kind of try to economize when I want to use these flasks or whatever they are called. Yeah, I agree. I love that they stayed faithful to this remake. At the same time, though, I feel there were some obvious quality of life enhancements they could have tried out that wouldn't have broken the game. Like, I think the game would have been better if they had Estus flasks. I think the game would have been better if it had a fall attack. I don't know why that's not a thing. It seems very strange. Like, there was no boss except the Agitator that I was like, oh, falling on this could probably impact things, and the Agitator is one of the easiest boss. So,
Maddie, I have a bold question for you.
Please, fire away.
To kind of sum up, maybe this is a good way to say what we feel about this remake. Would you give Bluepoint your blessing to make Bloodborne 2 after playing this?
Oh, see, I thought you were going to ask me, like, they fill in the 6th Archstone and do an expansion.
Oh, I think they're definitely going to do that. I think that's locked.
Really?
Yeah.
I hope so, too. Yeah, that'd be cool. Bloodborne is a science, man. I don't know. I'd be kind of nervous, but I get Elden Ring is pretty hype from what Phil Spencer said on how it's like their most ambitious project, which is saying a lot. I don't know. I feel like when you do Bloodborne 2, like, they have to be aware of the demand there.
Right.
Especially with Souls being done. I don't know, man. I feel like it would be really, really weird for FromSoft not to do that. It depends. If they're doing like what Sanzaru did with the Sly collection, where they remastered all of that to learn what the DNA of Sly was. And when they made Sly 4, that's one of my favorite Sly games. Like, they did an amazing job on that. So if they were doing Demon Souls Remake almost as a study, then yeah,
right.
Sure.
Well,
but if they were doing it almost in like, hey, let's just make this, then I don't know.
I wonder if it's possible, since maybe From Software doesn't want to make Bloodborne 2 or do the heavy lifting, if it's possible that it could be a joint effort between Bluepoint and From Software, in that the creative aspects of From Software are still there, with Bluepoint doing the primary development.
I think it's a really good idea to consider that, because Bluepoint is in a unique position of being able to handle FromSoft IP, and FromSoft is kind of wavering into that dangerous territory that we've seen Rockstar go into, that we've seen Bethesda Game Studios go into, where they have a lot of IP that people love and want to see more entries of, but there's just not enough manpower or staff or the same minds behind it that people want to see for those entries. But to keep them going and to keep them relevant, they can't just keep going and reviving them like a decade later. It just doesn't make sense. And there's just money that they could be making if they handed it off otherwise. So I feel like it's definitely an idea that's crossing the table, because it's not like a direct competitor, say like a like Koei Tecmo, doing it. It's someone who's in the PlayStation family, who's working on exclusives. Like, it makes a little more sense. It's almost like a family business thing. So it's a good idea. I never thought of it that way.
I heard that
Karak,
Bluepoint. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
The rumor is that they're working on Metal Gear Solid. I keep hearing that.
Yeah, but I keep hearing that as well. So
that'd be interesting.
We'll see. That'd be a cool remake, because I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but the second one was really good. That's what I'd hope for. I love the second one. I know it's a take. It's a take and a half. I love Metal Gear Solid 2, though. But Karak, it's your turn, brother. What have you been playing? What have you been up to?
Call of Duty mostly.
All right.
And PS4 or PS5, sorry, and Xbox on that. PC a little bit, but not a ton. And then Valhalla, testing out the cross save, which is always nice. Cross saves needs to happen.
Did something where you could I saw a Cowboy talking about it. Maybe I was misinterpreting it, but wasn't he saying you could go on PS5 and then go to PC with that same save file?
So I've been doing. Well, yeah, that would, because hang on, let me verify what versions I have. Okay, I know Xbox to PC, but I'm pretty sure it's PC to PS5 and Xbox as well, too.
Okay.
Yeah, I I think it is. I'm trying to remember which version I bounced into, but regardless, it's at minimum the two, PC and Xbox, or PC and PS5. But what's nice about it is just like that ability to if I want to play it, on the PC for whatever reason and listen to a Discord or whatever, or play on the console. It's been really nice to jump around and see that, and I hope more games do it. And then Call of Duty itself. The only thing about Call of Duty, I think we talked about it all last podcast, but the only thing about Call of Duty that I find that's a little bit of a letdown is the triggers. That's sort of like I'm waiting because I think that's a really good tech. I want to see it. I think with Call of Duty, especially playing it through the second time, is that it still feels really funneled, if not more funneled than almost all the other Call of Duties. That's the big thing I took away from this one, was I never felt like I could go left or right. It was like it was more of a skeet shoot than I think the prior ones were. And it's fun the first time, and it's pretty fun the second time. It's just that when you go through it, or if you're looking at something, or if you die on accident in some place and you have to redo a spot, I started to notice that. And then the lack of gun porn is probably the biggest thing. Like I want to enjoy that game, but I was so attracted to the prior titles gun porn, where every M16 was a different one and every MP5 was a different one. And this one, because of the timeline in which it's set, that just does not happen at all.
Right.
So that picking up of the same AK-47, it sounds so dumb because it shouldn't matter, but that's the one thing that's always been COD to me, is that every gun I picked up would have a different, there would be some little thing about it that was slightly different. And I was sort of attracted to that. But I've just been returning to games, doing tests for like backwards compatible. I haven't really been playing anything brand new because there hasn't really been anything since Valhalla, I think. Well, Call of Duty and Valhalla. There hasn't really been anything new, has there? Am I missing something?
No, we all had a big burst in a week, and we've been playing these next-gen titles. We know you've been reviewing them, so you've had them earlier than us in some categories. Yeah, for me, like Valhalla is kind of behind me, but that's one I want to return to. I really like that game. It's funny you bring that up. I was thinking about that today when I was driving to the studio. I was like, man, when they get that next-gen patch out, I kind of want to play the PS5 version because I've tested it, and there was a little bit of screen tearing where I thought, okay, maybe I'll come back to this when they got all the new bells and whistles attached, and it's kind of a more fresh experience and obviously more optimized for the console, because it's definitely struggling there. So once I see that, I'm definitely planning on leaping back in. I just hope they're smart about it, because they did get kind of a lucky blessing with Cyberpunk getting delayed, and I feel like if I'm them, you want to get that next gen patch out before Cyberpunk as well. Like, just make this your window, make it now, because I think it'll do fine in the long run. But
yeah, I mean, it's the biggest launch they've ever had, and like they've sold the most. When I talked to people in my Discord, we did a poll, and like 95%, it was 90, but like 95% of people said they would not have picked up Valhalla if Cyberpunk hadn't been delayed. So in a weird way, Valhalla is getting a focus it would have never got prior, ever. Mm-hmm. It just would not have got, which I think is cool, because that does show how important it is. It also, though, I have a feeling is going to come back to bite a lot of people in the ass when they maybe return to it and go, this isn't what I thought it was at the time, because there wasn't anything else. Not saying you or reviewers. I'm just saying a lot of people are like, I heard somebody was like, this is my game of the year above any other game I've played all year. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying it's not, but you may want to look at the time frame and how this popped and verify that's not sort of a like something artificial. Additionally, I think this is the first Assassin's Creed ever, at least that I looked at and found, that had an artificial stopping point for a lot of people. And I did a video on this yesterday, but basically this is the first Assassin's Creed game where a massive AAA title is coming a very specific amount of days after. And what that does for a lot of people is gives them a safety zone where they know when they open a Valhalla, there will be a specific time in which they'll shut it off and they'll play Cyberpunk. And people don't realize how comforting that is, but there's psychological studies that show, like, if somebody gives you a time limit, it is comfortable. And I know a lot of people will look at a Valhalla and be like, that's too big. But if they look at a Valhalla and say Cyberpunk is coming, completely different situation. And again, I don't think that will change people's ideas of what they've experienced, what they've enjoyed. I just think it's really interesting to look at this release, because I was replaying it a couple days ago, and I got to tell you, Maddie, it's probably the only Assassin's Creed game this has ever happened. But I was playing and I just walked away. I was just like, this is boring in all ways. And so I'm not saying it is boring. I'm saying that was my reaction to it. And I'm wondering if it's because I'm playing other games. And so my focus isn't on Valhalla. Valhalla isn't the thing that's you like, there's other things that are above that. I don't know. I just find, dude, it's going to be really interesting because I'm playing it and people are talking about stuff and I'm like, dude, I don't know what game you're playing. Like, I don't know what game you're playing. And that's rare for me. I'll joke about it with you. I'll be like, what do you mean Primal's, but I know that it's a joke. It's a joke. Here, there's some weirdness going on. And I don't, and I could be the one wrong. Like that's fine. I want to return to this in maybe a year and look at it and see like if people's thought, because we've done that before. How many times have a game hit? People are like, whoa, and then you come back to it. I'll give you an example. I think Jedi Fallen Order is that way a little bit, where people were really explosive about that game. And we just talked about it in my Discord today. Where somebody's like, you know what? I think I was wrong. Not that it's terrible, just that it's nowhere near what they thought it was when they first played it. And it was the time.
For sure. Sure. There are definitely games that benefit from a certain window or a certain even anticipation. Of course, that's hype in general. But
it'd be fun to see.
Yeah, my game that when you were talking, I couldn't help but think of Final Fantasy 15. That was a game I put in my game of the year list. I was like, top 3. I really like this game. I loved its story, and I went back to it for the multiplayer update, and I went back to mess around with some of the story DLC, and I was like, this is fucking bad. Like, I don't like this at all, man. And I'm just like, wow, I really was like big on this game too. And I think it just came at the right time. It was like my game. I pre-ordered the collector's edition, $300. Like, I don't think that was something that really, because I just like figures, and it came with a nice Noctis figure. But Eric's eyes are about to roll out.
$300.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Came with the steelbook, the movie, art book, figure. I was hyped for this game since Final Fantasy 13 versus 13. I'm trying to justify this, okay?
Dude, there's no justification at all for $300. I'm just
trying.
Joking. I know.
No,
it's fine.
No, I get it though. It is fucking ridiculous. For the record, that was 2016. I have not done that since, but still, yeah, that was a game that
game was out in 2016.
Yeah, same year as Overwatch, which
holy
that was my game of the year, and I don't regret
shit! It feels like last year. That is nuts. That is nuts.
Yeah, man. We haven't had a mainline Final Fantasy since.
That game came out
It's even crazy.
right before I went to PSX in 2016, I think.
Wow.
Damn. That was a good time.
2016, I was 20.
Just a baby.
Yeah.
Just a wee
No
lad.
facial hair.
Just a
But
lad.
anyway, yeah, so those are and then I've been doing a lot of stuff outside of video games because for some reason I don't know, lately it's just been like the rigmarole. And there's been a couple games where I'm all, I could review it, but you know what? People have reviewed it or whatever. Sort of nice to sit back and just, plunk away on your own thing. Like I've been fucking around with PS5's picture-in-picture mode. Like if somebody said to me, and somebody did, they were like, well, what's the best part of the fucking PS5 if you don't like the DualSense? And I'm like, dude, picture-in-picture. For sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
For sure. And I like Snap, and I know no one else did, but I'm fucking around with the picture-in-picture, and they were like, prior to the embargo, they're like, it's not ready. We don't want you to talk about it. I'm like, no, I want to talk about this because it's going to, I need to because I really dig this shit. So to me, I've been messing around with that more than almost anything and just enjoying it. Just sitting back and enjoying the systems for what they are.
What aspect of, you mean just like you're sharing your screen with somebody?
No, just watching Twitch or something. So the thing about the PC, Dustin, is that I was saying I go to Valhalla on the PC sometimes to listen to Discord or whatever. But a lot of times it's also how many times you've been playing a game and I got my second screen and I'm watching a Twitch or whatever, as I'm doing something. It's so dumb. But I've done it like 800 times on the Xbox when it had Snap. And now that there's picture-in-picture for the PS5, I'm like, oh, well, fucking, and this morning I was doing a bunch of stuff, and we had like 700 people in the Twitch stream this morning. We had a huge group of people. Do you know what? A bunch of them were PS5 people playing games and watching the Twitch on the side, and I was like, damn, That's actually
one thing
pretty
I
sweet.
hear a lot whenever I stream, whether it was on YouTube or I saw it a lot on Twitch because the chat was a bit slower there, and I would always see people say, "I love watching your streams while I play something or having it on in the background."
So I
now
mean,
with
that's a
that snack
plus
feature.
that's to me, that's one of the killer apps of the. It sounds so dumb, but it's so far at least it's been the thing that I've actually been very highly enjoying on the PS5. Really enjoying it.
I my friends and I always love to do share play in PS4 parties, but to kind of be able to play your own thing and have it snapped up there, and whenever they need you, you full screen it,
Yep.
and or they want you to see something, you full screen it. Like, that's awesome. I always really liked share play. I was so happy they actually evolved that. Out of everything with the UI, I think that was what they did
Karak,
possibly best.
you like to tinker with these extra features. Have you tried the PS5 remote play on PS4?
No.
Someone-
I haven't tried that yet.
Someone messaged Colin, I think someone, or left a comment or something on our Patreon and said that it's really good. And I meant to check it out today and I've forgotten. I just didn't know if you had done that.
Is it remote play for the Vita, or I've never messed with remote play whatsoever.
So yeah, I mean, there's remote play, which I don't know if that, can you remote a PS5 into a Vita? I don't think you can anymore.
There's a whole new lease on life.
But you can remote your PS5 into your PS4, or PC or phone, which the phone version is actually...
Phone version I did try. Sorry.
It's pretty good from at least in my connection. And it has on-screen buttons, which obviously most games you're not going to want to play that way. But the Series X does not have any kind of on-screen buttons as far as I can tell. It does now?
It does now, yeah. I haven't played it, but it's funny you mention that because I just saw somebody saying they patched on-screen buttons, and I'm like, I haven't jumped in. So dude, I guess that's a big deal.
This is so low-key, but I love this, that if you remote into your PS5 on your phone, you'll hear it beep and light up and turn on. If you remote into your Series X, if it's like nothing happens. It doesn't turn on the light. It won't like alert. Like if someone's at home and you remote into it, it's just totally low key. It is the smallest detail, but I think that is so cool for some reason.
Stealth low key. I just think those are all. I mean, that's hopefully we continue to get all this streaming stuff. GeForce is doing more streaming. COG and GeForce have joined up. All this kind of stuff is awesome to me. It just gives gamers one more place to play. And I've played so much. I mean, not to diss on the Switch because I love it, but I have really replaced in the last 2 months with Xbox. I've replaced a good deal of my Switch gaming with PC and Xbox gaming on my tablet or my cell phone. And PS5 will do the same. Like, it's very cool to be in your bed and be playing one of those games. It's ridiculous. So it's just the amount of power.
Could, like, hypothetically, could I have like an iPad and stream to it and then play like a PS5 game off of that? Interesting. I've actually never tried that at all. I remember on an episode of Sacred,
phenomenal.
I heard Chris say he was doing like Final Fantasy VII Remake in bed, and I was like, how's he doing that? And so that must have been how.
And you can connect a DualShock too. That's the nice, or an Xbox controller. They both work.
Is there lag?
Yep. I haven't noticed. That's funny you mentioned because I just did Gears, and there is with the Bluetooth controller. I feel that there's 2 ways to hook it up. You can hook it up locally to the system, and then also I would say there's something there for sure on like a super fast game. Are you gonna be playing competitive Halo on your fucking tablet? Well, that's on you, right? Like at some point, when is that sort of responsibility on you? So I would say the lag to me has been minimal on the games I would play in that form.
Okay.
Outside of that form, that's debatable.
Okay. Yeah, because that's something that's always been a factor. I like my Switch because I could just lay in bed and play it. Like, it's just that simple peak laziness. That's why I picked up Hyrule Warriors. I was like, man,
dude, I have 11-inch tablet, Maddie, and I played Skyrim with all the mods on it, though. I played ESO with from the Xbox because the Xbox will stream to it. I played ESO onto the tablet. I mean, it's pretty fucking crazy. Yeah, it's like when you're playing Skyrim on the tablet and it's a bigger screen and it takes less battery because it's not processing on your tablet. It's just streaming to the tablet. So the tablet lasts forever. And you can just crank the brightness and be like, let's fucking roll. And it's basically like less than a movie. It's Dude,
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should try it out because it's sort of mind blowing when you first. And then I have one of the controller adapters too that holds your phone.
The clip.
Whoops.
Yeah,
that holds your phone or holds your tablet, and you can lock it in place. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I see. The thing is I was always waiting for like the xCloud support to make its way to iPhone, where I could just clip on that controller, and that's how I plan on trying it. But I'll look into that then. That sounds awesome. Because I only associated remote play with the Vita. I know, sad, but seriously.
Dude, and it sucks because the Vita would have been perfect. Well, no, actually, it's a lot.
What's the Vita's
less
resolution? What's the Vita's screen resolution? Because that's really in the end. Yeah, incredible today, incredible, or incredible 25 years ago when the fucker came out. I mean, I have trees in my backyard where I cut down, and the rings aren't even prior to that Vita.
960 by 544.
That's a shit resolution, Maddie. It's move the fuck on, bro.
The problem, dude, the Vita though with remote play, the sticks are not clickable. There's no L2, R2 buttons, and the Wi-Fi in it is not really ideal for streaming. So it was a neat idea, but it just simply. I mean, if you're playing like Persona or something, I'm sure it would have been fine, like a turn-based game. But anytime I tried to use it, it was a not ideal situation.
Okay. Well, something I'm going to have to definitely look into. Shall we get into the news, gentlemen?
Let's do it.
All right. First bit of news that's up is CapCom. There's been a leak. Nope, no one. Not funny. Didn't land.
I didn't even know you were telling a joke. That's how.
Well, it's a CapCom leak.
Wow.
Capcom had a leak. Oh, snap.
Give me 1 second, guys, if you're talking to me. Sorry.
Okay.
My audio went out. Just give me 1 second.
I completely destroyed Karak's audio with my terrible joke. All right. So there was a gigantic leak at Capcom ranging from a bunch of their future games to financial reports and a lot of inside baseball on what's been happening with Capcom. It seems like someone hacked in and tried to use it as like ransom against them, which they kind of got ahead of them and just, it's stupid. Obviously, we're not going to talk about that aspect. We just want to talk about the games that were listed here. And I'm sure Capcom in general is going to like sue these people to the highest level imaginable. But for now, we have a list of some of the biggest names that are on this supposed schedule. And they are Resident Evil Outbreak. By the way, these also include Windows and release years, which comes Q4 fiscal year 21. Dragon's Dogma 2, Q2 fiscal year 2022. Street Fighter 6, Q3 fiscal year 2022. Rockman, which it says Mega Man in North America, Match. So Mega Man Match, Q3 fiscal year 2022. There's Resident Evil 4 Remake, which has been rumored for a while. That's Q4 fiscal year 2022. Monster Hunter 6, Q2 fiscal year 2023. Biohazard Apocalypse. This is where it gets weird. I'll point out why in a second. Q3 fiscal year 23. Super Street Fighter 6, Q4 fiscal year 2023. Final Fight Remake, Q2 fiscal year 24. Power Stone Remake. This is one that...
Whoa, the Dreamcast Power Stone?
Yeah.
Woo!
Power Stone Remake, Q3 fiscal year 24. Ultra Street Fighter 6. So they have all of these versions already planned, which is kind of hilarious.
Weren't they over that? Like they decided not to do that with Street Fighter 5 and made a big deal about it. So it's just weird. Sorry, I'm jumping.
But they also didn't even release a story in Street Fighter 5. Hopefully they've rethought some shit.
Yeah. So they already plan on, if I'm a Street Fighter fan, I'm looking at that going, oh man, what the fuck, guys? But there's one more. Oh, sorry, I didn't say the date for Ultra Street Fighter 6 says Q4 fiscal year 24. And then last but not least, and this is where I said it gets a little weird because we saw Biohazard earlier, and now it's called Resident Evil Hank, which is Q4 fiscal year 24. So it's strange on this leaked document that they say Biohazard, which is what it's called in Japan, and then they also call Resident Evil, which is how the rest of us really know it worldwide. A source confirmed to IGN that some of the games included in the list are legitimate, including Dragon's Dogma 2 and Street Fighter 6, but could potentially be out of date. Many other games revealed in the leak are listed under code names. So, gentlemen, we have a pretty strong list of games here. For me, the standout is Dragon's Dogma 2, but I want to hear from you fellas. What do you make of the leak, of course, but also the games listed?
Okay. So first of all, I forgot. I wanted to mention something about Dark Souls real quick. And it'll just be 1 second.
Okay. Go for
Fuck
it.
anybody who tells me to play a game a certain way. And if you're out there telling people that you can't summon, fuck off. Next.
Agreed.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. And I was so stunned when I heard it. I was just like, because I haven't heard that. But that's because people probably won't tell me that, because I would punch them. That is the dumbest fucking But about this, Dragon's Dogma is all that matters. Dragon's Dogma could replace every game on there. It could be Dragon's Dogma Super FX Unbelievable Edition, and I would buy it. I would buy the Super Street Fighter fucking Dragon's Dogma Mix Edition. I would buy it.
The $300 version?
$300 version, I would buy it.
Let's go.
Dude,
Right.
It's Dragon's Dogma 2. It's what I've been wishing for since forever. Also, with this list, I think it leads a little bit of credence to it, because there is no Devil May Cry 6, and the Devil May Cry creative director had stated he had been given the choice between Dragon's Dogma 2 and Devil May Cry 5 and chose 5. And that's all they had a team size for. So to me, this lends a little bit of like realism to it. The fact that you don't see that listing on there, at least in the same time frame, because some people wouldn't pay attention to that, and they would if they were faking it. But dude, I can't wait. I can't. The Street Fighter shit, I don't care. Completely dead to me. Like, I'll play it, I'll review it, great, whatever. But I think that it doesn't mean anything to me. Dragon's Dogma, though, game of the century.
Sounds like I need to play this.
Wait, you haven't played Dragon's Dogma?
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't.
Dragon's Dogma is a middle ground between like Devil May Cry and Dark Souls. It's a little bit more difficult, and it's got like, it's the only game I've ever seen where darkness matters. As in, when it gets dark, the entire world changes. It is truly dark if you have your TV set up right. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's a little easier than a Dark Souls, and it is unbelievable. Like, dude, that's the only game I've ever reviewed 4 times. Every platform, I think.
I was gonna say, how is the more recent port? Is it comparable to?
It is. It's good on the PS5
PC,
too.
or?
I played it on PS5 and Xbox. I did the backwards compat, because its FPS was never great originally, and so that's shored up. But also, fake HDR on the Xbox is fucking awesome, because it's fixed the lighting. Because the light, it's hard to do true dark. Well, you have an OLED, so it's going to be a little easier for you. But even with that, this game hinges on dark. So, for example, when it gets dark, entirely different creatures do stuff. The enemies are completely different. They'll come out of the ground, zombies and all that stuff. And that's what the entire game's based around, is like daytime and nighttime. It was hard on SDR screens, because darkness on an SDR screen is usually gray. And so it didn't look great. And now with the new systems and all that stuff, dude, and it's pretty smooth from what I've been able to, I spent 18 hours on it, but it's definitely worth trying out. It is a weird game though. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's Japanese, that's for sure. I mean,
I'll tag
or
on
Euro-Japanese.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It has Monster Hunter elements to some
very
extent,
much
too.
though. You're right.
You
I
can
forgot to say that.
climb on big creatures and like stab weak points and stuff. They're kind of more long battles.
And if you have a woman with you, the ogre attacks because he's attracted to her smell. It's just so weird. And they even say it. They'll be like, the pawns talk the entire time. Your NPC, the player characters that you choose to go with you, and you can rent them out to your friends. It's just so fucking weird. It's yeah. Now I want to play that.
Is. Yeah, exactly. Every time I talk about it, I want to play it.
I know you can see my excitement. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah, it's contagious, because I do like the game a lot. It's just, it is one of those games, I will say, from my experience, where the first few hours are getting to that major city and seeing all the other classes you can unlock. Yeah, so that is a couple of hour foray, but once the game really lets you loose and you're just taking on jobs and stuff, it really does it takes on an identity of its own. It's really fun. You start to form your own team. You can like download other people's characters online and use them in your squad and kit them out. Like,
they level up.
It's really cool.
They get knowledge about the world when they level up. So much stuff going on in that game.
I already own this game on PC. Actually, I thought that I may have gotten it from a Humble Bundle, and I do. It's in my Steam library. Yep.
Dark Arisen, which is unfortunate, because that means they removed the most amazing title screen music that's ever existed
Oh yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
I
Really
remember
weird.
sitting back and I was fucking cooking. That game was on and that fucking rock music came on and my brain was like, did it go to MTV? What is going on? And I walk around with just that fucking guitar at the starting. You're like,
Yeah.
what? This is supposed to be like classical. It even starts, remember? It even starts classical. It's like, and then it's just,
Yeah, it's like a little choir. Yeah.
so good.
Oh, also Dustin.
Anyway,
don't watch
that's
the
mine.
Anime.
Don't watch the anime.
Don't watch
Yeah.
anime.
It's bad.
I've heard bad things. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not representative. But anyway, that's the only game I care about on that entire list.
Yeah, and I think them doing the anime also kind of helps solidify this list because its timing seems off. Otherwise, it's something in between to get you to 2022, presumably. What do you all make of? I am a big Mega Man fan. I really like the X series. What do we make that the only thing on here is Mega Man Match? This may have been a code name, but that doesn't sound like, a Mega Man 12 or a Mega Man X9 or some type of maybe 3D Mega Man game. Like, I feel there's, for anyone out there who's like me, you've played the Mega Man games, you've messed with the spin-offs, you've played the RPGs. There is so much potential in this universe. It's so interesting. And I feel like it hasn't been properly utilized on some of the newer consoles. So I want to tap you guys on the shoulder and see what you think of just Mega Man having a match game, which I don't know. There aren't any other phone games here, but Mega Man Match does sound somewhat mobile or puzzle-like. It just strange.
right. I mean, I guess we can just. The hope for most Mega Man fans when they hear that is that it is a code name and it's not referring to like Mega Man Match 3 or something like that. But honestly, I mean, I feel like it would make sense. Though, what is it? Okay, I'm trying to figure out what other Capcom mobile games, because nothing else on this list sounds like a mobile game. This is the only one that is distinct, which may be because it's on the list because they would expect it to be a big hit because it's one of their biggest IPs in a mobile package, whatever. But I mean, I really hope not. And I think you're right, man. I think you're hitting it right on the head and saying that Capcom, I think that they probably don't really know what to do with Mega Man, which is ironic because anyone who's a fan of Mega Man can tell you, like, do X, Y, Z. This is what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems simple. So I don't know. This is, I just really hope that it's not a mobile game, but that's probably what it will be. It's the most obvious
like they
explanation.
had a good idea because they had like the collections they did. Like they did the collection, then they did the X collection with X 1 through 8, which I love the X series so much. So that was like awesome to see. And I felt like, oh, they're ramping up to something. What's next? A lot of people were speculating maybe they're going to re-release the Battle Network series, which is my favorite Mega Man series personally. That is a fucking awesome game, by the way. It's like a RPG with like grid-based combat, but it's got Mega Man. You like insert battle chips to do moves. It's like tactical yet action. Really cool take on Mega Man. What do you all make of Monster Hunter maybe not coming till 2023, despite Monster Hunter World being the best-selling Capcom game ever? And how much hype is generated, how much interest is generated in the franchise. We do have things like stories coming, and I think Rise was the other Monster Hunter game. Do you think this is a little bit too long until another mainline Monster Hunter game?
I'm surprised it wouldn't be called Monster Hunter World 2.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So that makes me feel like, okay, I don't know a lot about the Monster Hunter franchise as a whole, because was Monster Hunter 5 and Monster Hunter World are two different things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when the last time they went by numbers was. It's always a
Yeah,
subtitle,
it's always been a subtitle, I think.
Freedom, Unite, World. Like even the big expansion for World Iceborne. I don't know if it was called Monster Hunter World Iceborne or not, but
okay,
they
so
like subtitles.
Polygon has an article called "Why Monster Hunter World Isn't Called Monster Hunter 5." So this would then be the follow-up to World, if we consider World the fifth main entry in the Monster Hunter universe. So sorry, I just know that there's like a side series going on at the same time on the Switch, right?
Yeah,
Because there's stories,
I think.
generations. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't know. It does seem pretty far away since after Iceborne, they were like, we're done with this entry, right?
Yeah, and it's so that the thing is, you thought something was coming a little bit sooner, right? But to see 2023, I thought was a bit of a head scratcher because even if it's 2022, I'm thinking, why do you stop World so soon? Like maybe tap into 2021, so then there is maybe that year and a half wait that isn't as excruciating as 3.
Right. And the other thing about World right now is that I feel like they easily could revitalize that game because the performance is so much better on next gen consoles that I think that if they put out a new thing for it, that people would return to it and be like, wow, this game is even better now that I can play it at 60 FPS.
Yeah, man. I mean, I put like 80 hours into it and kind of moved on, but I really liked it. I would like to have an excuse to go back, but I've never played Iceborne, so I can't really talk, can I? I do have an excuse to go back in the scheme of things. What else is on this list? Karak, you seemed to exclaim when you heard Power Stone remake. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, Power Stone's like, I don't even know if it was as good as I think it was. You know, might be sort of the memory of the Dreamcast and stuff. But Power Stone 1 and 2 were fucking awesome. And they were sort of like battle.
What are they?
They're like battle gauntlets that are moving at the same time with movable arenas, and you're trying to knock each other out. It is like a gauntlet, but on movable arenas and stuff. And you have different powers that you can do, different specials that you can do. Each character has their little motif, you know, kind of thing. But that's what I was actually stating is, I don't know if, you know, depending on what they do, I don't know what form it would be, because you would need to have a lot of characters to like sell $60 to me right now. Like back in the day, that was pretty crazy because people don't realize when the Dreamcast came out and the PlayStation came out, there was a lot of games that did well only because they couldn't have made those prior. They literally couldn't. So a game that has driving and walking around could not have been made prior. So when you get a game like that, some shitty games were made and people were like, this is awesome, because there was technology didn't exist. So I don't think Power Stone's necessarily like that, but I'm wondering what form it would take and if it would be super popular or more of an arcade style, you know, depending on how Capcom goes. Because Capcom has done one or two of the cheaper ones, you know, the $40 ones. It's like, could we see something like that? Also, I would not put it past them to have that be a Switch game at all. I would in no way, shape, or form be surprised also if Hank or Bubba or whatever the fuck you called it, Resident Evil Bubba. No, Resident Evil Hank.
It was Hank. Yeah.
No,
I'm in for Resident Evil Bubba. Just so
okay,
knows.
Resident Evil Bubba or Hank. I wouldn't be surprised if those are streaming versions on the Switch, which is why they have a weird name. Stuff like that, because those kind of things wouldn't surprise me. Capcom does seem to be pretty open to experimentation, which is cool. You know, they do some stuff that other companies aren't doing. But Power Stone, I would love to see.
Is that Dino Crisis is not on this list.
I know. I saw that.
Shout out to Shinobi602. I know he's been really leading the charge on Twitter for any time he can talk about Dino Crisis, he does. For those who want a comparison, it's like me with KOTOR. And so Dino Crisis was not on this list. Now, this comes after a Capcom leaker had said earlier this year, back in around February, that Dino Crisis was actually in production a few years ago, but then scrapped and buried, and the franchise is now still, I put in quotes, extinct for the time being, end quote. So once again, another reason why this list sort of adds up. They also mentioned as well in this same leak that Code Veronica remake is not in production, not even pre-production.
Yeah.
So we don't see any hints of that on this list, which I think adds a little more credibility to that leak. I always think that's the most interesting part. A lot of people like to hone in on the core leak, but it's also about the prior leaks and
and what's not there or what is there.
Yeah, because then you get a better picture of what's going on. But yeah, outside of this list, I think everything seems standard. More Resident Evil, more Monster Hunter, more Street Fighter, and Dragon's Dogma for sure is the standout to me as well. So looking forward to playing that in a couple of years. Next gen is on the way. And that's kind of what's sad about it, right? Their whole next gen lineup for half a decade is out there potentially, unless things change or get canceled, and that sucks. But it's neat because I didn't know companies planned this far ahead with this many titles. So it's interesting to see from a management perspective how that all works. Shall we move on to the next topic, gentlemen?
Sure.
Indeed.
All right. See, I'm getting good at making sure you guys are ready. The Game Award nominations are in. We'll obviously have our own personal predictions as we get closer to the show on how this show will turn out. But there's been an interesting conversation percolating with the Game Awards that I really wanted to hone in on. So we're really just taking a look at the Game of the Year nominations. And by the way, we're not saying there are any right picks or wrong picks here. That's not our job. That's not what we're here to do. And I want to make that crystal clear before going any further, because at the end of the day, they're opinions, and, this is a glorified award show. Let's be real. It's fun to watch. I watch more so for the announcements and the reveals. I don't think many watch for the awards. They're just more a part of it. And I think representation, like validation of opinions, really. I imagine half the people watch my reviews don't watch to decide if they're going to buy. They're like, am I right about this game?
Yeah, right.
Do I feel right about it? I'm sure I'm not the only one on that. So the listed games for Game of the Year are Animal Crossing New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and The Last of Us Part 2. So the notable omissions here for a lot of people, and I don't think it was like a vocal minority. There were even people who were on the voting board speaking out about this, was Half-Life Alyx, which Dustin, I know you spoke very highly of, and also Ori. And then people started to tail that into PlayStation's got 20 plus representations where Xbox had, I think, 8. We're not going to really account for that. But the conversation I've noticed has really shifted to for those who don't know, actually, before I get to that, let me cut myself off. For those who don't know, the way that these awards, these nominations are selected for the Game Awards is that a message is sent out to people on a committee. A lot of these people on these committees you probably do watch, and they choose their respective games for each category. They're sent in, and then that counts for 90%, and the other 10% is fan voting, which I think is a fine system, because if you give a little too much power to fan voting, I think you might get trolling. You might get some really ridiculous awards. And like I said, I don't think a lot of people watch directly for the awards, but I respect and understand why Jeff Keighley wants to have that part taken seriously, and I think it's a smart choice. But with that said, so those who know the process there, the question has come up of, are people playing enough in this committee? Are they playing, I don't want to say the right things, because it's a personal enjoyment thing, but a game like Half-Life Alyx, which I think, Dustin, you can speak to more. I don't want to act like I know everything about it, but seemingly moved VR very much forward on what a VR game can do, and its length and its scope and its scale, and the potential of the platform for that not to be there for Ori, which is a very unique side-scrolling game that told a great story, possibly left to the wayside because of what I like to call recency bias. It's just a game that didn't come out in the middle to end of the year here, where it sort of fell out of the conversation. And having a game like, as much as I love it, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is good in many regards, but notably flawed. And I only want to touch on The Last of Us Part 2, because that's more controversial than I think flawed, because I think, people go back and forth really on the narrative where the gameplay is solid. And even discussions popped up about Animal Crossing, which is, people have said it benefited from the quarantine. It benefited from the fact that it's just kind of grindy. It's not really new. What do you guys make of this? Is a committee playing enough? Do you think there should have been different nominations here? Obviously, this is just our opinion. Nothing's going to change here, but I want to see if this is just a small section of the internet, or do you line up with these thoughts? What do you think?
Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what to even say here, because I'm looking at the committee now, and it's interesting because they seem to be like the people you would expect to be on there, like GameSpot, Giant Bomb, Game Informer, Polygon, PC Gamer, people like that. There's some more, I guess we'll say, modern outlets or personality driven, like there's Easy Allies, Kind of Funny, What's Good Games. Those just seem to be the only three that are sort of outside the media. They're not what am I trying to say? They're fan funded, I guess is the way to put it.
Right.
Which I would also argue there may be some ethical questions about the fact that some of these people on this jury are also on the payroll of companies that are getting nominated. So I'm not making any accusations. It's just something to
It's fair.
something to wonder about. As far as this, like, you know, Half-Life Alyx getting snubbed and stuff like that, I'm not surprised because overall VR is still a niche thing when you talk about the spectrum of all of gaming. And so I'm just not surprised that even at these bigger outlets that there are probably people that are advocating for Half-Life Alyx, but even at these outlets, I would assume that at best 1/3 of the people voting had played it at best. Mm-hmm. So I guess it just makes sense that some things like this, especially a VR game, would get, you know, snubbed or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Karak, what do you make of it all, if anything?
Half-Life Alyx is probably one of the best games this year, ever, like amongst all platforms. So the idea that, you know, that's not on there, whatever. I agree that, you know, they probably haven't played it, but I also agree that if you go and look and listen to some of these people, they haven't played and beat some of the games that are on the Game of the Year list. And I think that should also be a requirement to have actually played and beat it, or played it all the way through. And I know for a fact that on some of those games, those participants have not. So because they've stated they have not, it's not some secret. So the entire voting thing is broken. Also, it's the wrong, Cyberpunk comes out in December. Recency bias is a thing. I don't give a fuck if Jeff thinks that he needs to do it for clicks because he stated it's all for views anyway. If you're going to call it an award and you're going to put it in a certain year, use the fucking correct year, which they haven't done. December is a time frame where games are released and normal humans go in that way. They don't go the fucking way game and, you know, the Games Awards have been doing, which is like, I don't remember when they cut it off, but they cut it off at some arbitrary date. So
I think the cutoff week was actually next gen launch week.
That's yeah. So completely stupid. Like that makes absolutely no sense. There's no defending it. That's just dumb. They need to move it on. I don't give a fuck if they lose money, whatever. That's on them. If they want to do an award show for a year, it needs to be within that year. And so to me, none of it really makes sense. I also don't give a fuck what any of those people think, like at all. I don't even dislike any of them. I just don't give a fuck what any of them think. Like I don't care. Companies will, because it matters that they get Game of the Year. But now I've had my name. I'm sure your guys' names will show up in these trailers, these accolade trailers. That seems to be the new big thing where somebody will be like, can I use your...
I would be shocked.
Can I use your fucking blah, blah, blah? And remember the Batman joke where Batman came out and they were like Game of the Year, even though it never won Game of the Year. And they were like putting it on there. By who? Who rated that Game of the Year? This kind of stuff, I hope it matters less as we move forward, not more. I don't want to lend any credence to this at all. I think it needs to be fixed if we're going to add any influence to it, and it's not fixed. The way they even vote and figure out their voting is broken. So to me, I mean, it may sound negative, but I am pretty negative towards it. I think it's fucking broken. I think it makes no sense, and I think people shouldn't listen to it. If you want to watch it because of the trailers, that's great. Sort of like watching the Super Bowl. You don't give a fuck about the two teams. You're watching for like some commercial that comes on. Yeah. Well, some people watch for the teams, admittedly, if my team's in there. I will. And these are all my thoughts, not Maddie's or Dustin's. But I just, and the people being on certain payrolls, that's going to be even a bigger thing because I don't know if you guys saw, but Embracer Group bought like 888 different companies last week. And that includes a PR company. That's going to be I don't even know how to parse that. I've been like in the last couple of days, I've been looking at that, trying to figure out how we're going to parse all this stuff. So those games that they play, I don't think they need to play more at all. I think what we need to do is get out of the inbred incestual relationship of the journalistic fucking mob that occurs right now. We're the same 7 jackasses. Yeah, it's the same 7 jackasses for everything. And by the way, if I was in there, I'd be like, bring in 9 jackasses more. It has nothing to do with who's in there right now. I'm not calling them. I'm just saying at some point you look at it and go, seriously? Like, seriously? Because there's some big websites. Ignore YouTubers. Remove me. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to be in there. But there's a lot of websites that do a lot of good coverage. Why are they not in there? Like, it's the same 8 or 9, and then people be like, well, it's numbers. Okay, that makes sense. But go look at what IGN releases. The top 10 reasons there's no dogs in Watch Dogs, or whatever the fuck that video was. You're like, seriously?
Oh my God, I forgot.
Seriously.
About that.
I mean, there's so many better ways to reward game developers and game publishers that they could be doing right now, and they're not doing. And I'm sure a lot of people will tell me, oh, it's because this is the status quo, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like, gaming is supposed to be pretty rebellious anyway. Rebel and fix it. But instead, we've fallen into the same Academy Awards, head up your own ass bullshit.
Dude, yeah, perfect.
Sorry.
No,
I apologize. That's really negative sounding, but I don't give a fuck.
I think you put it perfectly. I think I appreciate having both of you on the show, of course, because you're my good friends, but you're both very honest and straightforward, and I think the audience values that a ton. I think we're seeing a little bit of the impact too of the yearly schedule. Not even talking about the committee,
true.
but now we're starting to see with Jedi Fallen Order, that was 100% in the conversation last year. It should have been. It needed to be. It wasn't. Jeff said next year it'll be there, just kind of like we saw with Smash Ultimate, one of the biggest games of the year before that. Now we're not seeing Jedi Fallen Order in there. And that's why I brought up Ori, because I thought, you know what, that's another game that came out earlier and people are just not remembering that stuff. And then we tag into what happened with Ghost of Tsushima Legends, where when that released, people were being reminded that, hey, Ghost of Tsushima did come out this year for your Game of the Year considerations. And I'm just sitting there scratching my head going, that's the weirdest fucking thing I've seen in an email this year and in a very long time. And so it must matter to companies in some way. I don't know if it's, and I don't say this in a negative way because sometimes it's negative connotation, but ego, like, yeah, we got Game of the Year. Is there a boost in sales that comes from having Game of the Year on your box? I mean, you'd think so, right? But does your personal taste go to the wayside if you see Game of the Year sticker there? Does that matter? Yeah, it's just Karak. It's really hard to add on to what you put there, because I was suggesting play more if you're going to keep the committee the same, right? Because a lot of people, just in gaming in general, I don't even pay attention to pretty closely to a lot of the major websites that and their personalities that are attached to these outlets. But I do hear very often in games that people say, oh, I just don't have time to play. I'm always working. And look, I'll say it this way. I manage my own business here. We all do to some extent. And I'd say my workload is pretty heavy day in, day out, and I find time to game. And if the worst thing you've got to do is find time to pick up a fucking controller and play a game, I don't fucking feel bad for you at all. No one will ever. That is the most eye-rolling statement I've heard, that you can't find time to play games, but like it's a chore for you to game. That's a fucking joke.
Well, isn't it also weird, because it feels like the royal family when you look at these groups? It's like, no wonder we're fucked up. That's how hemophilia starts, by a bunch of people fucking their cousins. And I don't know why we haven't. Well, dude, that is what happens. This ancestral relationship of the same people always being involved. Keep them involved. Keep them involved, but get fresh blood in there. And I do not want to be in this group at all. I'm not talking even about YouTubers. If you do have a journalistic slant and you feel it needs to be written, nothing wrong with that. Dude, there are so many websites, Maddie, so many websites that are covering niche games, that are covering blah, blah, blah. Get them all in. And then, like you said, require them to play the fucking game. Be like, okay, and you have to beat the game. Like, even more so than even reviewing it. If they want to say, I played the game for 20 hours and I like it, for their review 6 months prior, whatever. But an award? Imagine if I was at the Academy Awards and somebody said this one game of the or fucking movie of the year, and I was like, I only watched the first 45 minutes, but I voted for it. How fucking stupid is that? And we're the only industry where that's allowed. We're the only industry where people are like, whatever. And we know for a fact, Easy Allies, Giant Bomb, Kind of Funny. Many of these people have stated very clearly that they don't play the game to completion. People are accustomed to that with the reviews. That's one thing. But an award? Like, to me, it makes no sense, man. It makes no sense. So instead, if that's so difficult, like you said, if your world is so terrible, if it's so fucking soul-shattering that you can't get up and grab a controller to finish the 9 fucking games that are in the category, if your sad life is that way, then get more people in there. and allow 15, 20 extra people to come in. So that way it doesn't hinge on these people who unfortunately apparently are third world fucking, inhabitants. Because I hear the same thing. Oh, I just don't have the time. Fuck you. It's an award. I don't give a shit, man. I don't want to hear their shit. Sorry. I'm just going to rant until you shut me up. Because this kind of stuff, it's the wrong fucking year. That's what pisses me off more than anything. I'm going to tell you right now, if they did it January 1st, I bet you I wouldn't be saying at least 80% of the shit.
Yeah, this year's totally different, right? Like, what else do you do? That's what I got to be honest about.
By the way, I will tell anybody, if you want a particular platform to be represented as much as another platform, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. If you want Xbox to have more Game of the Years on the Game of the Year, whatever, that makes no fucking sense. If it's a good game, it should be Game of the Year. Not if it's on a platform. You do not represent in an award kind of system like that by making it like just because you showed up. Like, I mean, that makes no sense. And I like Xbox stuff, but that's fucking stupid. Like,
I agree.
It makes, even though I think Ori, I would like to have seen Ori on there. I still don't think it probably would win.
If PlayStation's showing up and putting out quality stuff like they have been, they should be mentioned a lot on
Absolutely.
This list. Like
Which only makes sense.
Same thing with Xbox, right? It's so. Sorry, Dustin. It looked like you were about to say something.
I wanted to ask Karak, because I touched on it briefly, and I want to do this in the most professional way possible, because there's lots of strings
Me
attached.
too, because I'm pretty professional.
Particularly with my employment. There are, in the jury, there are definitely 2 outlets that have people that have hosted and been paid for events from companies, specifically like EA and 2K. And I guess this is my question to you, Karak, is there an ethical problem that if you're getting regular payments for services from a major publisher, then that would bring up an ethical problem with voting in this, just to add to the list of problems that you already went over?
Yeah, but I have been told, yes, I believe so, but I've been told flatly I am wrong. And I'm not wrong, by the way, because I fucking actually was involved in some of the commercial studies for purchasing and what you get for free and stuff. I was told that I'm just wrong.
For some of these deals from between a publisher and an influencer, you guys know, and Maddie knows this as well, but if you're top tier, like some of the people on this jury list, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars for different kinds of appearances, hosting, sponsored videos, things like that. And again, I have no problem with those. If that's how you want to do your business, I think that it can be done in an ethical way. It's often not, but whatever. Now, when you're bringing in, like you said, Karak, like an award, and we're dealing with situations like this, I think it kind of enters a whole different
because you can't have it one way. You can't say it's an award and then say, but we're going to fuck it up the way we do everything else. I don't care about all the other stuff that happens through the year, but if we start getting to an award kind of thing, I do. And I do care that if we're going to award, I don't care if I agree with their win either at all. But I do care about the process, because I think the process should be profoundly fair, to the point to where you might have the middleman out there being like, man. But when you look at it, you're like, you know what? That's as fair as we can get it without shutting everything down. Like, which, by the way, does happen a lot, where people are like, we should do it this way. And you look at their plans, you're like, that's fucking impossible. But there are ways to do this. So, and yeah, I personally feel that that's not acceptable, but I also know that some people are firmly okay with that too. Even followers of mine, I've had people be like, I don't care, that so-and-so got paid, this or so. And so maybe I can admit, maybe I'm just old school in that at some point, everybody's going to be so accustomed to money changing hands that in a way they're going to do what Maddie said at the starting, which I do believe firmly does happen, which is they are just watching videos to simply be reinforced on what they've already thought. And I don't necessarily think that's absolutely bad. That's a video. This is an award.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I draw a very unique line between those two things. But apparently we're all wrong, because they've continued to do it, and it'll do gangbusters, and it'll have great trailers, which will be fun, but it just becomes a laughing stock all the time. Every time this happens, we're in the same fucking discussions and the promise of like Smash or whatever, oh, it'll show up, blah blah blah, or Jedi will show up. It's not going to show up.
Yeah, Jedi, I don't know if I don't quote me on this. I don't know if it made it into any categories.
Well,
I was going to talk a little bit about, sorry, what were you saying?
Smash was nominated last year for Game of the Year.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying it was an example of overlap.
Right.
Yeah, that is true. Smash was, but it's big enough that it should have been.
Yeah, right. It was like a no denier where I think Jedi Fallen Order was a prime example of falling to the wayside because of the way the show's structured. I genuinely believe that. Because Smash was still like, there was Game Award hype for Smash because they did reveal the first Joker DLC there, and they were still in the middle of releasing content. I feel like it was still pretty hot even a year later because I have like almost 200 hours or something like that in that game. So if I've got that, I know a lot of people were playing it. I was just going to talk a bit about sponsorships and stuff because, I think out of the three of us, I've been a part of like brand deals. I'm not to the extent of hosting events or shows. And I honestly, I'm sure it'd be good money, but I never want to be because I take more value, and I know people are going to think I'm like full of shit, but I genuinely do take more value of people taking my opinion seriously. Like it genuinely bothers me when someone doesn't take me seriously. And I know sometimes obviously actions can cause that. And one of them is taking like what some would call dirty money. That's really up to the consumer. I'm not going to decide for you, but I've been a part of 2 sponsored videos. I did one for Destroy All Humans, and I did one for Wasteland 3. And honestly, the stipulations for both were just make a video. It was never make a positive video, make a negative video. Like we want you to, some companies get it. I will say that some companies are like, if you're authentic, we appreciate your coverage, your space. We think there's value if you genuinely like this. And so that's why I take those types of deals. Because at that point, in a case like Wasteland 3, hey, I'm a Fallout partial channel. Like I've covered a lot of Fallout. I'm going to cover and play Wasteland 3, of course. Oh, and you want to pay me for it? Sure. Like I was going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So there are situations like that. Once again, I think that's vastly different from saying I will host a war or a show or whatever the fuck is going on. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't pay close attention. The other is where sometimes you are like, I've seen the offers roll through. Like you are paid to say specific things in ad reads. But I will say the best companies and the most fun ones to work with are ones like Manscaped who are like, make something fun and come back to me. And I've made like crude jokes in my Manscaped ads, and they're like, we love this. This was great. And so there are companies that are loose and are not trying to tell you to say things, and they're not in your ear constantly. But you can tell when they start to inch your way in. That's always when I back off, because I will make the extra money because in a year where it's been really financially tough for my family, I've helped them pay some bills, and I have no problem doing that. But I'm not about to personally take dirty money. So I do think in the case of an award show, it should be called into question for sure. I think it's fair. It's nothing against any of these creators. It is entirely fair to say like, hey, I have worries about this. I think people would be crazy not to. Doesn't mean they're ingenuine or they're doing what I'm doing. Hey, I'm just making a living, Maddie. And that's totally fine. I think it goes back to the original point of Karak and what he said, which is get more voices in there. And I want to cap off this discussion by saying this is not an advocacy for myself, Karak, Dustin, any of our fellow creators to be in that committee. I personally, I have really no interest. Would it be a cool thing? Like, yeah, sure. But like, I really am not sitting here voting for myself. I think Karak, once again, he hit the nail on the head. There are plenty of great websites out there. I don't know if you mentioned, is Push Square?
That's exactly. It's funny. I did not want to drop them. I did not want to drop them because I didn't want to drop a name. So I'm glad you did. But that they were one of the first ones where I was like, are they on there? Because there's a couple that are in that whatever area that I just don't see on this list. And I did not see Push Square. I could be wrong on that, but they are actually who I was, one of the, groups that I was like, and it doesn't matter if it just needs more.
Exactly. And I think, feel free to check. Even if they are there, I think the argument remains that the more voices you have, the more votes you have, the more diversity you have, and the more well-represented show you have. I think.
And if something wins, Maddie, if something wins, it means more, because that means you had to have had those more votes because you have a spread. And to me, that's what's exciting, is if you did have more, that means if your game did win, that means that technically more people had to have voted for you anyway. All those other people that were coming in didn't spread the vote to these other games. They still thought Half-Life Alyx was game of the year, which it is. I'm just joking. I don't know. But that more is better in this case. And
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be YouTubers. In fact, I don't necessarily know if that overlap makes a lot of sense. I guess it maybe does because of Jeff, but because he was video mostly. But
Right.
but dude, yeah, there's a lot of websites that, they can't delete their stuff. It's right there, because I know sometimes there's that where it's I have spoken word and, there's ways to edit things where like a person who writes it, Internet of all things, will memorize it forever. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be great to double or triple the amount of people involved.
I do have, sorry, go on, Dustin. I just want to say I have one tweet I'm going to bring up that I think is important context for this conversation as we wrap it up. But sorry, Dustin, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I could read you guys the jury if that would provide better context.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty aware of it. I just, was Push Square there as well?
Like the smallest outlet, like there's Ars Technica and Games Radar, and everything else is like The Hollywood Reporter, Entertainment Weekly, LA Times, The Verge. I'm just a Touch Arcade, US Gamer, like Vice.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I want to make it clear. I don't mean that in like a gatekeeping way. Like no one at LA Times could be gamers, but like that's definitely not the first magazine or website I go to for video game coverage. That's a little bit of a surprising inclusion.
Yeah,
if I'm honest.
GameRanks is on here, which is kind of interesting. Newsweek as well. Okay.
I think once you get over 1 million and you're constantly doing videos, your chances of being on there is probably a little higher. Pick one out of the group. Also, I think GameRanks, one of the things is they're pretty topical. There's nothing, I don't think they've ever said anything, even though it's called like, what is it, like don't touch or whatever the thing is.
Before you buy.
It's never really ever rankling to a developer. Like a lot of people can be like, dude, what the fuck? I don't think I've ever listened to one of those and been like, wow. Instead, it's just sort of topical. So I think that's a safe vote for this group to put in there versus like me or, somebody who's just going to piss on shit.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to think we're taking it too seriously, and that's fine. I mean, I give a shit, but, and I don't think that's something to be like incriminated over. But Jeff Grubb from VentureBeat wrote, as someone who helps votes on these, you don't need to take them too seriously. We chose our nominations the week the new consoles launched. It was impossible to give it more than 1% of our attention. That's just the way the timing worked. He said, you should have fun with the Game Awards, but they're for a broader audience. If you're reading these tweets, you're into gaming. You should be following and participating in the Game of the Year discussions. You'll get a lot more out of that.
No.
So I understand what he's trying to say, but at the same time, I think he's at least, I don't even say in defense of him. I think he's just trying to say like, these awards are kind of meaningless, whereas the conversation is more important. But that means that you're avoiding that, hey, this award show could be meaningful.
It's ignoring the fact that they're trying to pretend it is meaningful when they say it's Game of the Year. If you're going to spend 1% of your time talking about something, it's not fucking Game of the Year. It's not Game of the Year. You can't even, I don't care. I literally don't care what they're saying. You cannot have it both ways. And as somebody who writes, because I think he's a writer, he should know instantly that tweet makes no sense. It doesn't matter about serious or not. It matters about the fact that they are stating something is a game of the year and pretending it doesn't matter, but at the very same moment, pretending it does matter by having massive releases, massive trailers, and telling everybody slap game of the fucking year on something. So you can't have it both ways. That is the very typical way in which somebody gets out of any responsibility. And I'm not going to buy it. Like, that's stupid. You either say, I didn't spend the time, I want to be removed from this list because I only had 1% of my time because I'm so heavily worked and the world is so difficult for me that I'm just crushed under the toil. Then leave. But at the same time, if you're going to be a game of the year, you better fucking spend more than 1% of your time on it. That's what I mean. You cannot have it both ways. You fucking physically, logically cannot have it both ways. That's okay. I'm done ranting. Sorry. I'm just going to get madder if we continue. We should probably switch off because I'm just continually getting more and more angry. So
that's fine, man. I think it's a good way to wrap it up too. How about something a little more positive, ladies and gentlemen? We appreciate those of you who listen. I want to make it also clear, we have nothing directly against anyone whatsoever. It's more so, I think sometimes people are afraid to just kind of call it how it is. And we have questions. And I know sometimes it's hard to have a voice who asks those direct questions, and it's hard at times to ask those questions. So once again, nothing is personal here. I at least for me, I don't want to speak for you two, but nothing is personal here. It's really just calling into question some of the way the show is handled and to hopefully make it a better show. And that has nothing to do with our inclusion of it. So with that, let's talk about Hitman as well as Project 007.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So it was announced by IO Interactive on their website. It's Bond, James Bond. You're going to see me bring my phone close to my face because I'm trying to read this tiny ass text. Project 007, which is a working title, is a brand new James Bond video game to be developed and published by IO Interactive. Featuring a wholly original Bond story, players will step into the shoes of the world's favorite secret agent to earn their 00 status in the oh my God, I should really zoom in on this if I can, but I can't. Their 00 status in the very first James Bond origin story. IO Interactive is currently recruiting elite talent from around the world to join the team that will build this exciting and unique gaming title. So for those who don't know, IO Interactive is behind Hitman 1, Hitman 2. You both are huge fans of Hitman, and what better fit for a secret agent game than IO Interactive? This is something you really dream of, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean they've never gone big in Hitman because that's not what Agent 47's about. But I think they've got everything else down pat. So I'm pretty stoked. I think it's a pretty good fit for James Bond. Like, it would be difficult for me to find another company I would rather, take over.
Arcane. Imagine that. Little supernatural James Bond action. Dustin, what do you make of IO making a 007 game?
Yeah, this is exciting just because it's one of those situations that it's like the perfect developer tied with the perfect IP. And I saw some, maybe it was Colin on Sacred, I don't know. I heard someone say that they were like, well, are they just going to make a reskinned Hitman game that's James Bond? And I think that there probably will be a lot of crossover elements between Hitman and James Bond, whatever this new game is. But I'm like totally fine with that. Like, take the elements that could apply to a James Bond game from Hitman in this, and there's probably a lot of new aspects that they can add that make sense. Like, surely this will have some kind of more, I don't know. I don't think it will have the same mission structure as like a Hitman, but like, you got to imagine there's going to be driving in this game at some point.
I was about to suggest that.
Or like a mission where you're on a jet ski or something like that. I feel like there's just a lot of potential here that they can take their different existing formula elements from Hitman and like somehow make it certain elements more wacky, make some elements more serious. You know what I mean? Right. There's just a lot of good things from the base to start with.
What are the gadgets like in Hitman? Because I've never played much of 1 or 2. And I'm just asking because I know 007 is a lot about gadgetry. And I was thinking, could that be a separating factor, the way you get around levels even?
Right. I'm looking at a list now for Hitman. I know that there's like remote explosives.
Yeah, and then there's the briefcase bomb. I mean, I would say the Bond is a little more overt.
Right.
Bond is a little bit more, here's a laser on my wristwatch, where Hitman is a little bit more towards social disguise. So I talked about this in my video about it, but basically Bond is never known for social disguise. He literally walks into a place and says, I'm James Bond. He's the worst spy in the world. But then he has car crashes and fucking backflips and parkour, where Hitman does not do that. But Hitman does have the tech, and when it comes to like his gun, he's got the guns down. There's an overlap a little bit there. There's overlap a little bit about the hacking computers, and like doing the secret, spy mission and Mission Impossible stuff. But overall, I would say James is for sure more of the technological. Because, I mean, I think in the original James Bond with Daniel Craig, where they said they were going to make it more grounded, the motherfucker started his heart again with an fucking, like a EKG machine from his own
really? Oh
yeah,
my
I'm
God.
pretty sure he like had a jump start machine in his own car and put it on his chest because he was being poisoned. Like and they, by the way, they said that was the grounded one. They were like, this is the real which you're just like, the shit. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff they can do. But I think overall, James is certainly more the technological, you know.
Do you all play James Bond's games like years ago, like Everything or Nothing?
All of them. Yeah,
Oh my
all of
God,
them.
man. There are some.
Some were
I was
terrible.
looking at some were terrible. Some were really good. I was looking at a list, and there was the Quantum of Solace game I liked. It was like a third-person shooter. There was, of course, Everything or Nothing is my favorite. Nightfire is another one of my favorites.
Nightfire.
Nightfire is a classic. There was to live or to die another day, or to live another day, something like that. That was on the N64. That was a great one. Like, there's a lot of great James Bond games. This was one of my more defining childhood series, and so I didn't realize until I saw this announcement. I was like, wow, it's been so long since we've seen a James Bond game. And when we last saw one, I'm pretty sure, was it that remastered that was like not very good? I think Legends.
That was the last one.
So, yeah, it was not very good. It was like 4 hours long. I'm sure you could get like a good deal on it now, of course, and it might be more worth your time. But yeah, it's been so long, and so I think this is a perfect time to revive it and to bring in a really capable studio, because I think James Bond was a great multimedia type of IP where it actually worked very well in games and in movies. I think they were enjoyable on both fronts. So I think we're going to start to see a bit of a renaissance with that again, because I think there's a new movie on the way too.
It was supposed to be out by now, but they keep pushing it.
Yeah, the virus thing has just destroyed most of these releases.
Tell me if you guys think I'm wrong here. I feel like this kind of reminds me of we found out Insomniac was making a Spider-Man game.
Spider-Man? Yeah.
100%.
It's just like a team that has pedigree in like open world and kinetic fluid movement and stuff like that, making using an established IP. Like Spider-Man, we had good Spider-Man games, we had bad ones. It's just there's a lot of similarities.
You have to like, it's one of those matchups where you go, how could this go wrong?
Right.
Dare I say?
Hopefully.
I think the difference is that Insomniac had better overall experience with games that were more reflective of Spider-Man than Hitman, which just does not do action well. Again, it doesn't. I love Hitman, but I wouldn't tell you, man, it's the most responsive shooter in the world when she starts shooting people. No, I would never say that. So, sorry. So they need to get, you know how we've heard that some companies, when they do a mixed game, they'll go and find id or something. They'll be like, hey, bro, come over here and help me with the first-person shooter part or whatever. There is that, as Dustin said, if there's no car chase, it's not a Bond game. Like, that's impossible. I think Nightfire had the motorbike where you could wheelie your way through the entire level. Just crazy, over-the-top shit.
I remember Everything or Nothing let you like slide under cars that were blown up or something.
Yeah, and under semis. So I think that requires, or doesn't require, but I would hope that that's where I would worry, is that they can't solidify it with the combat.
It'd be interesting to see, because if they did more sandbox levels like a Hitman, I wouldn't mind that if you mixed in more action-packed sequences like car combat. Like, I think that would be kind of a cool balance. Because Hitman's very, like, you're focused, you're trying to navigate levels in a very particular manner and not get caught, I imagine, where I feel like mixing in a little bit of freedom of chaos could be really neat. So, yeah, when you said...
just awesome.
Yeah, when you said the laser on the wristwatch, I immediately thought of... I want to say it was on the original Xbox, that 007 game.
So, yeah, the one that hacked the original Xbox.
Yes.
That was the pirated. That was the one that you could pirate your Xbox if you had the save.
I think you could break glass with the laser on your wristwatch.
You could.
Yeah, holy shit.
It's just so dumb. Man. It's just so dumb. And that's what's great about it. That's why I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like to see. What I was going to say, though, so they said origin story. My question that I had like asked people was, do they believe that the origin story is going to be an origin story just for the game? Or are they also in some way in cahoots with the company and trying to figure out what, for example, if the company goes with a female Bond, which has been discussed many times, or goes with what's his name, who played Thor's best friend in the Avengers movies, Idris Elba. He's come up multiple times. So I would The one thing I'm wondering is how do they overlap with that? Because this has been just announced now. So my hope is they may be under the, scenes a little bit. Maybe they're working on like, here's what our plans are for the next Bond. Or maybe they'll go completely separate and they'll just be, this is an origin story for a completely different Bond. Either one.
Yeah. It'll be very exciting nonetheless. I'm super pumped to see.
And good for them.
It is.
They finally got an IP with money behind it because Hitman had issues. Hitman 2 had financial issues all the way through.
That's true. That's a very good point. For those who are wondering, this game will likely be a while. Their announcement trailer was just James Bond walking
3
into the barrel.
Or 4, 2000.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't we think
likely
2023
maybe?
At least 3. Well, because the thing is they're working on Hitman 3 as well, and that's supposed to be out next year. I think
right.
Said.
That is true. Yeah.
It's out in January.
I think it's more of a, and I totally understand why the team would do it. I think it's more of a like we're really hyped kind of announcement, and I think it also, I don't know if they're privately owned or not, but probably gets investors' eyes like, oh.
And they're hiring, so they're probably it's like a beacon.
They are
saying,
hiring. That is true.
Hey,
yeah.
Come work with us to work on an awesome James Bond game.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get put on the map. I mean, I know Hitman was big for a lot of people, but I don't know if in the more core area of gaming.
Do you imagine how fucking amazing it would be if you're James Bond and you're like in an area and people are dying and you can't figure out why, and it's Agent 47 killing people or something like just this mini fucking Easter egg. And they don't even have to explain it, but then you find out later, like there's, you're going and there's the garrote, like on a table.
They're gonna have something like that.
Wait, what? What's that doing there?
our prediction, and we want everyone to go back, 3 years later from now. We want everyone to go back. There's gonna either be like what is it, garrote? How do you pronounce it?
A garrote, which is the choke.
Yeah. I didn't want to sound too stupid here.
No,
either that's gonna be on like a table somewhere with maybe like a black tie.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Or the red tie.
Or the red tie. Yeah,
red tie. Sorry. That'd be great.
Or digital goodies. You get one of those, or because here's
that'd
the thing,
be so great.
We've seen good James Bond games. At least I found them enjoyable. I have yet to go back to them, but we've seen good James Bond games first and third person. Do you think they go third person for this? Like I was thinking it might be interesting to see.
For sure, third person.
Third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was considering first, but I don't know. Maybe either or. That'd be kind of interesting.
Dude, stealth is hard. I love Thief. My favorite game's probably in the top 10 of all time, and I like Dishonored somewhat. But I think that stealth is there is something difficult about first person stealth, man. To get it, just working perfectly. I think Splinter Cell showed that you could do third person stealth really well. And then after that, we got multiple games. I just feel third person fits for James Bond. You want to see him or her, depending on what they do. I just feel like you would want to see James Bond like we saw Agent 47.
I guess, yeah, because then it would be more of the Hitman clone if you couldn't see 007. Yeah, that's probably a stupid suggestion by me.
Well, it's not interesting. Who knows? Who knows? It's just, it feels like with action, though, first person makes sense, but I just don't know if they would do it.
Yeah. I'd like to see them flip between the two because I feel like you want to make... They probably want to put all their chips on the table for this game because while Hitman 3 is going to likely be big, I think this is like obviously their large thing.
Oh, dude, you got to admit, those guys, I bet you when this happened, because with 2 having all those financial issues, even though it sold well, I bet you when this all came up, they were like, this is the shit. And you got to remember, that company's not going to go with them unless they feel that they can do it too. So that means the company knew about Hitman and was like, this all fits. Let's do it. Which, it's got to be awesome to be
in its own right. Well, we'll see in a couple of years. For now, it's coming.
Yeah.
And with that, we move on over to PlayStation, where there was a interesting comment by Jim Ryan in an interview with The Telegraph when asked about PlayStation 5 exclusives and what's going on with that. How will it look in the future? Jim Ryan said, "The first thing to say is that our PlayStation 5 experiences or versions of these games are built from the ground up to take advantage of the PS5 feature set. So I think offering a PS5 version of these games to the PS5 community and then a PS4 version of these games to the PS4 community, I don't see what's wrong with that. We've got a community of PS4 gamers, 100 million strong. It'd be wrong to walk away from those people too early. And they've been engaged with their PS4s this year under lockdown to a greater extent than at any point over the course of the cycle. They're using their PlayStations. They're happy with their PlayStations. Why would we stop giving them games?" And when he was asked about God of War Ragnarok, he said he has no further comment on whether or not that will remain PlayStation 5 exclusive. Supposedly, that game is coming in 2021, but we do know that Horizon Zero Dawn coming in 2021 is a cross-gen game. It is PS4, it is PS5. So the worry has been in these first 2 years, PlayStation, who had reported they believe in generations, is hesitant to confirm. Because I feel like right there, what's the issue with saying it will be exclusive? Does that hurt anything? I feel like it doesn't hurt or help, or it's just like knowledge. And so not saying anything almost says something, at least from my perspective. I want to know what you gentlemen think, though, about the future of games on PlayStation. Obviously, there will be a point where, and this will be a non-conversation, where we will get our exclusives, not a big deal. But do you think the transition is too slow? Do you think there should be more of a hurry to encourage people to get over, like PlayStation had said they would do? Talk amongst yourself. I have to use the bathroom real quick, actually.
Oh.
Go for it.
Sorry, I have to urinate.
Whoa, urinate. So here's what I'm thinking. And Karak, I am willing to bet 99% that you agree with me. Is that, first of all, I think Jim Ryan's lying in that saying, oh, these games are being built ground up first for the PS5 and then being pushed to PS4. That's completely the opposite of what Mark Cerny was talking about, how like, oh, look at all these new things that we can do with the SSD that have never been possible. So it's like, so which is it? Because spokesmen for Sony, whether it's Mark Cerny or you, have said two completely different things at this point. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I think from all the different things that Maddie said is that Jim Ryan was very outwardly saying they believed in generations. And I think that he thought that he meant that at the time. Maybe he did mean it completely. But you have to imagine that they're based on this year and the state of lockdowns and stuff like that. They're seeing so much engagement with the PS4 more than ever. Games are selling like crazy that maybe in the last few months, they're like, maybe from a financial standpoint, it's not the wisest idea to leave the PS4 behind as quick as we thought. So personally, I just don't understand why he wouldn't be. I mean, I guess there makes some sense why he wouldn't be more honest about it, other than he could just say, yeah, we've seen a lot of people engage with PS4 more and more. We've decided we want to, I don't know. I guess they don't want to look flimsy and that they're changing their plans all the time. But to me, that's what screams to be the reason. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I don't think, I mean, I think he says, I think they both, or all three of them, whoever works for, who's Nintendo now? Bowser, right?
Bowser.
Isn't his last name actually? Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome, by the way. Talk about like fluke chance. But I think overall, most likely they answer whatever they think works for their current PR, you know, and wherever their current PR is. If their current PR has a release scheduled, they'll push that. If it doesn't, then they'll push the family of systems and all. But it only makes sense right now. I don't know. I remember they said originally, and that's why he's gone back and forth. But one time he was like, oh, this is going to be the biggest switch and the fastest switch ever. Fastest switch from PS4 to PS5. We want people to buy a PS5. And then it was like hedged back, and then it was like family. It's gone back and forth. So I think he just says whatever fits for that particular time frame and sort of what he wants to say at that particular time. Also, why? So yes, I agree. We're building it for the PS5 ground up. No, you're not. Like, no, you're not.
Right.
Obviously,
you're just lying.
I was going to ask about that.
That's makes no, like, it doesn't even make sense from your own people's standpoint. Now, if they suddenly change something, then that's great. But currently, everything their own architects have said, that's not actually what's occurring. I'm still okay with that, though, because one of the things people continually forget is that, like, when you look at the way these games are made, I don't want things to just be a gimmick. I do. So DualSense, I want that to be taken into account. I want the faster SSDs to be taken into account, more power, all that kind of stuff. I want them to build stuff just for the PS5, but I also understand his hesitancy to say, yeah, if you got a PS4, you're not going to get this. You know, I mean, they don't want to say it. And I would certainly guess that they look at those numbers, like you said, and they were like, oh shit, some people are moving, but it's actually not possible for most to move. And what I mean by not possible is people are forgetting, ignoring money for a second. The silicon creators have actually not delivered what they were supposed to create. You can't get the systems.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I was going to...
You can't buy them. So
is it possible that they're, looking at the next 12 months, talking with suppliers, looking at and trying to figure out what their demand is and thinking, well, shit, we will not be able to fully, saturate the market with these for at least a year because of, I don't know whether that's because, I mean, it has to be multiple factors. It's clear that there's more demand for video games than ever right now, based on what we've seen from NPDs, unprecedented sales across the board. So there's that. And then on the other hand, you have the pandemic, which I'm sure is probably fucking with their supply line and making things extra difficult. And so you have this twofold of a higher demand and you have potentially less consoles to push out. And you could be looking at 2021. Who knows? Maybe the whole year it's going to be hard to find these things. And they're saying, well, how can we push all these exclusive games when we can't even make enough of these yet? I'm not saying this is gospel. I'm just saying it's a possibility.
No, and I think it makes sense also because we do know, like even Microsoft said until April 2021, there'll be shortages for their own chips as well. So both have got chip issues. One does proprietary stuff. The other doesn't on one thing, but they do on another. They both have proprietary stuff, long story short. I think it makes sense that both of them probably also just look at continuing on, which is another reason why, and I'm just guessing here, it might be another reason why we saw Cyberpunk on the Xbox X. The reason why I bring that up is because that is a weird ass system to show the game on. They could have just showed the game on the Series X or the Series Original and then the Series X, but they showed it on both of those. And I'm wondering if there's in Microsoft's dealing with the same shortages everybody is. I'm wondering if there's an idea of like, hey, we may need to reflect what current is going to look like because moving to these next may take a little longer. 3080s are difficult to find, if not impossible. 3090s are difficult to find. AMD stuff is difficult to find. It's because they're all using the same 3 RAM manufacturers. So I think it makes sense. I think he's just saying whatever works in front of him and he gets out of the way of the camera as quick as possible. I honestly do. Like, that's what I would do. Dude, if you were asking me, I'd be like, yeah, we're going to do some stuff. And then, whoa, what's that? And I would leave as quick as possible because right now, they also don't even know if other nations are shutting down. That's another thing that people don't realize is like their supply chain is probably, 4 thick, I would assume, 4 different nations involved. And so that means they may plan, like Microsoft has Thailand. Microsoft moved a bunch of theirs to Thailand. So Microsoft goes on a certain spree. They think they're doing something. What if Thailand shuts down again? And they're like, okay, now we've got to adjust ours. So I think also it's just supply.
It's gonna be hard to find, I think, for some time.
Well, and delivery. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Karak, you had said you had heard that Microsoft said that the Series X will be supply constrained until April.
Yeah, there was something about April. There was something about the chips or something I saw yesterday that was like they are experiencing shortages, crazy. And those would continue. And remember, I'm sure they won't do, especially day and date, won't do as well as the PS5 for sales, but it's the biggest opening for them ever as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that Xbox obviously doing super well. It was their best launch ever.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I would just say, just from observing the world, and this is not a console wars thing, the demand for the PS5, I would say, is much higher than the Series X.
Because you can't get it, though.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be well past April for PS5.
Well, I don't know. See, the thing is the reason why demand is high is because people quite literally didn't get their console.
True.
So demand is usually built around just wanting something. Now it's can't get, which is completely something that, especially not to be rude, but Americans are not accustomed to. I'm going to be brutally honest, man. If there's one thing Americans are accustomed to, it's getting on Alibaba and ordering your shit and it shows up next week, or Amazon and it shows up. That is not happening. It's not happening with PS5s at all. And so I think that, and of course they do have miles, and what I mean is they do have games too. But what I'm saying is, it's nothing makes sense numbers wise right now, because you can't even supply the demand you originally planned on supplying. So you can't look at what your future demand is. It's impossible, because the same person can count in both tabs. Additionally, understanding that PlayStation is going to do insanely well. So yeah, I think it'll be high. I think it'll be much longer than April for both, because they also use the same parts. We like to pretend that they're different, but like, look at the AMD stuff. At the very minimum,
sure,
80% of that's the same. I don't even know where the controllers come from. To be honest, I don't know where those parts even come from. So there's that too. Seems like you can get whatever you want peripheral wise. So they don't seem, because I have 3 PS5 controllers. They don't seem to be supply limited. So I don't know, man. Dude, it's crazy. And did you hear him? He was like, I wouldn't suggest anybody try to release a console in the middle of a pandemic, which that is truth. Like, I bet you both of them were like, wow, seriously, like, what
They're
a
both
shit
like,
time.
why did we do this? And it's like, because we thought that you would do it. It's like, you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, because Digital Foundry said they had a Xbox S or X as of March.
Yeah,
so you're
they showed them the console in March.
Yes. So you're like, and of course things are going to slow down because of the event as well. But you're just like, wait, was everybody just hedging, or was it all because of COVID? Which it absolutely could have been too. When you think about it.
Yeah.
I hope somebody writes a book about this, by the way. Because, because we have the console war from the 360 book. I would love to see somebody write a book about like all of these events and how they all impacted AMD as well as NVIDIA.
That'd be like probably a multi-million-dollar idea there, Karak. Why don't you go do it?
I just want everybody to know every time I tweet, I'm going to say, and just so you know, I'm writing a book.
There you go.
Sorry.
You can put it in your bio. Author of
Little jab.
Console Wars. Wait, who are you jabbing?
Jason, who just Jason Schreier, who every single post, he's like, I just want people to know, writing a book. I mean, he's supposed to. I pimp my Patreon, so that's why I didn't want to say the name, because I don't actually find anything.
We roast plugs because plugs are sadly necessary.
Plugs are necessary.
If you don't remind,
asking
Patreon,
somebody to subscribe,
access,
guys, is necessary. I was not doing that, and when I changed and just said, maybe subscribe, it jumped dramatically.
Yeah, it literally, I did it one time, and it was a huge boost. I was like,
it's
I gotta
so
find
weird.
a way to integrate this or get like a graphic that just tells people,
right,
click the sub button. It's just you'd think, but I don't know. See, I'm always a big believer in like very organic growth. Like, if you're gonna subscribe, I want you to be like, damn, this guy's great. Boom, I'm gonna hit that button. I'm gonna hit it with power and love. And so sometimes I'm very hesitant to be like, by the way, subscribe, hit the like button.
Organic growth still requires fertilizer, so you got to put that shit on there.
Motherfucker, that is well said.
Boom.
Whoa.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Full circle. That'll be the best thing I say all day.
That's
it. That's all the intelligence spat out in one single shitty sentence. That's my life.
Well, that's great, because we'll transition into the patron questions where a lot of stupid things happen. All right.
True that.
Wow, you just shit on your own patrons.
Well, no, I meant they asked the more off the walls questions.
You know what? I had the wrong view of it, so now I've played myself.
Now you have called them stupid, and you will be submitting your public apology soon.
Wow, I've been canceled on my own doing. Damn.
Give Me Your Milk is our first write-in. We got eyebrow lists for both of them. Give Me Your Milk, so just know what kind of name you're playing with here. Have you played Armed and Dangerous for the original Xbox? P.S. If the answer is no, then I highly recommend you give it a go. I have not. What about you, gentlemen?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I can see it in my mind's. Oh, this game. I remember not liking this game.
Oh.
And thinking it was lame.
It was a little rough control-wise. It was like Freedom Force, I think, where a lot of people liked them, but they were pretty rough.
Armed and Dangerous. Let's see here. I came up with a song by Juice WRLD. Hold on. I'm trying to find the game. Xbox. Here we go. I don't even recognize this box art. Huh. Is it like a turn-based game? No, it doesn't look like it.
It's a shooter or action shooter.
Interesting. I'll have to look up some gameplay. I'll leave that tabbed up. No, I have not played it, though. But Karak, he has. He has you, milk.
What's he at? Is that it? Just have we played it?
Just have we played it?
There you go.
He said, if not, I highly recommend you give it a go. So I'll look up some gameplay and see. I'm very nostalgic. Speaking of nostalgia, Dow writes in, what are your top 5 nostalgic games? So games you just look back on, you go, oh yeah, those were the days. How about we combine for 5? Because I'm sure 5 each is tough. I'll throw in Sly 2 Band of Thieves. One of my favorite PS2 games. Just walking around Paris, stealing jewels, bringing them back to your base, using those to level up. Sucker Punch at their simple best.
I'll give Bully then.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rockstar
Bully's great.
I will say Pokemon Yellow because I used to play it on the bus when I was in kindergarten.
What do you think that you can buy that complete in box for like $250 now if you kept the manual and everything?
Really? Is that how much it is?
Yeah, my friend just bought a copy.
Dang, I still have a copy. It's not complete in box. Yeah. I've never been like, I think that having games in the box is cool, but I would never spend a lot to have that.
No, the most I've spent was $100 on Budokai Tenkaichi 3. That's the most I've spent for a complete in box.
The game that I want complete is Tomba 2.
Oh my god!
And I'm not even joking about it right now. This is real. I
really thought you were pulling my leg.
No, Tomba 2. Okay, one on eBay right now. This is a complete in box, but opened. $130. Wow. $100. 96. 192. This game is fucking expensive. And luckily, the copy I played as a kid.
I'll be right back. Continue.
It was my uncle's copy, and he still has it. And I said, never sell it. And if you do want to sell it to me. Because, it's very important. But I guess, so that's another nostalgia game there. Tomba 2.
We're at 3. Let's see if we can get to 4, and then if Karak gets back in time, we'll drop 5 into his lap. Actually, no, he already did Bully. All right, I will throw out... Man, it's really hard not to pick a bunch of Pokemon games. Because I immediately thought of Pokemon Stadium. That was one that, oh my god. That is still one of my favorite Pokemon games to this day. 3D, lots of animations, the music is iconic. You could use the game pack and connect your Pokemon Yellow to it and play it on your TV, which was like insane when I was a kid. I couldn't believe it. I really appreciated that. I talked about Battle Network earlier. That would probably be my actual entry though.
Maddie, I have one for you.
Okay.
That is a nostalgia game for me. I think maybe it is for you too. For the Sega Genesis, in my case, Ninja Turtles Hyperstone Heist.
Oh man, you weren't a Turtles in Time guy. You were a Hyperstone Heist fellow.
We didn't have Turtles in Time. The game we had was Hyperstone Heist. So maybe one's better. I don't know.
There are slight differences, but like when I say slight, I'm talking color, graphics, enemy appearance. It's fine.
Right.
You're playing the same game.
Dude.
Yes, that is 100%. Oh my god.
I loved that game. I've mentioned my uncle before. He's 4 years older than me. So we have we grew up more like brothers than like uncle and nephew. And that was a game that we played all the time. We'd always be booting up Hyperstone Heist and playing the co-op.
Dude, yeah. I went to my friend Connor's house because his grandma owned a amazing condition SNES, and we'd always hook it up and play Turtles in Time, and it would just be me, him, Ivan, and we'd just play till like 6. I'd go home, and that was like the move for months, just to play Turtles in Time every single day.
Damn.
Such a fun game. That's a great callback. I actually have it in this
so that has Hyperstone Heist in it.
Yes. Well, it says Turtles in Time.
Oh, okay.
And it's got the 87, I don't know if my year's right, arcade as well.
Nice.
It's got both of them. And playing them with like the little joystick and the buttons, it's very nice. I do it a lot when I'm waiting for something. It's just
Maddie,
a really good time.
We have so many questions here. I just realized I'm scrolling through. Not that I'm trying to rush you because this is your show. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
No,
I'm just like, wow,
keep a roll.
There's a lot of enthusiasm for write-ins, and I appreciate that.
There always should be. It's a great chance to get recognized here. Twofer will write in then with our next question. Hey guys, longtime listener, first time questioner. Thanks for the weekly podcast. It's the only podcast I have time to listen to, and I love what you have going on here. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you writing in. For those of you who are maybe silently watching, feel free to write in as well. through our Patreon Discord. The question is, what's one wish you have for this next generation? Mine is with backwards compatibility. I'd like to see more old games receive compatible multiplayer support. Being able to play older games like Fusion Frenzy, I was playing this recently, that's a great one, Mech Assault, Unreal Championship, or Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 online, and not just System Link, would be a wish of mine. And then the second question is specifically for Dustin, so we'll just keep it at question 1 for now. What's one wish you guys have for this generation? I kind of want to tag on to this backwards compatibility in the sense of expansion. There's a lot of games, and I'm thinking more Xbox here. There's a lot of games I own that I have just in hopes of one day Xbox will make backwards compatible. Death Row, TMNT Mutant Melee, Operation Darkness on the 360. These are games that immediately come to mind. A little more niche, but they immediately come to mind. I'm like, why can't I play these? And I know it's because they emulate them through the disc. So I know it's a little bit tougher than some may imagine, but I would love to see them expand backwards compatibility. That is my wish.
More buttons on the controller. It's not going to happen. I hate these controllers. I do.
Them.
I fucking despise the 4-button face. I grew up on the Sega Genesis, man. Sega Genesis. Secondary controller that they did had 3 buttons. A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And I fucking dig it. I dig having 3 face buttons on the bottom and 3 on the top, and then your trigger and your bumper. I would love to see more buttons.
What do you think an extra button would do? I guess like
2
what
buttons.
Would you have in mind? Just
so for example, when you had 6, basically what you're able to do in like Virtual Fighter is your punch, your block, and your kick, and then your guard. So those were already the 4 that you would normally see. And then when you had the other 2, you could have parry, or you could have 3D movement and stuff like that, or you could just say kick plus punch for throws, because in particular throws on Virtual Fighter were A and X on that. But I would love in the back buttons. You know, we got they sold it for the PS4, the little back button adapter thing, and we see it on the Elites, those back buttons. I think they already showed that people like those. I would, if you don't want to do the face, then they should have made the Elite style back buttons your base. I don't give a fuck about your strange ass drawing square on the front of the PS5 controller, your little touch, which that touchpad always turns into a button.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Every time we get that, we're like, we already know what's going to happen. It's like swipe left, and you're all, why didn't you put a digital pad up there? Why don't you have 2 digital pads?
Was the only game I could think of recently that said, like, you're in the menu, swipe right, swipe left to open up your journal or whatever. Yeah, that was the only game I can think of that tried to use it. Ghost of Tsushima, swipe up, guiding wind. That one worked a little bit more elegantly.
Yeah.
It was very strange. It just got left to the wayside and it became an extra button. So the back paddles would be really cool to see, because I have a scuff.
Yeah.
And just
either front or back, I guess I would say would both have been fine to me. I think Elite for obviously was a big deal for Xbox, but obviously Sony thought it was because they released an adapter. So if Sony released their official, and I think we talked about all this when PS5, they showed the controllers, a lot of us were stunned that it didn't have them, because with Sony releasing the thing, we were like, okay, this will happen. And Microsoft was like, no, here's your controller. It's pretty much the same. And then Sony did the same thing. And you're like, oh, I mean, there were obviously some adjustments. That would be mine.
My wish is already seemingly partially true, at least from Sony first party, is that there is an option between high frame rate. Yeah. High frame rate or high fidelity, whatever you want to call it. Just because I love having the option. Options are good. And so far in the 2 main games I played, which is Spider-Man and Demon Souls, both of them have very good modes for both. So more of that for sure.
Yeah. I expect that being a thing going forward, but we'll see and hope. The second question from Twofer is just for you, Dustin.
Cool.
You've mentioned you like Trailer Park Boys.
That's
I
right.
love that you like this show. It's been my favorite show since the early 2000s. What are your thoughts on them switching to cartoon episodes? Personally, I don't mind it. It allows them to get into even more crazier shenanigans. Thanks for the time. Take care.
So,
all you, Dustin.
Honestly, I've never seen the cartoon seasons of Trailer Park Boys because I've not finished all of the main show. I was watching it pretty hardcore with my wife, Holly, and then she decided that she was a little burnt out and we needed to take a break.
That sucks.
I can't stand that. This is why you shouldn't watch shows with your significant other ever.
Yep.
No, I'm kidding. But so I'm currently on Trailer Park Boys break, much to my chagrin. So I'll have to get back to you on that. But I will say, if you like Trailer Park Boys, and you like some of this odd Canadian-ish humor, you should check out Letterkenny on Hulu, because it's also a really fantastic show. And get back to me. I want to report back from Twofer if he checks out Letterkenny.
Okay. Twofer, you have a task.
You have a task.
Kirk Chad Narakami writes in, people often like to talk about the future of gaming, and I had a little think about this. Do you think we will get to the point where graphics mimic what we see in real life? Would this even be possible, or is there a limit to how far video game graphics can go? I can go beyond this and ask, will we get to the point where we can enter the game? Think Saints Row 4, where you enter the simulation.
You already kind of can with VR to a low extent.
Half-Life Alyx is pretty fucking phenomenal looking on a high res.
Oh, okay. I have an answer for this question, and it's also going to pose a question to you guys. So
Awesome.
I finally played Man of Medan, and it wasn't very good.
Okay.
It was fun. We were playing the party mode, and it was kind of fun. It was like stupid kind of fun, right?
Like Hidden Agenda. I don't know if you played that, but that was like a stupid kind of fun.
Right. Yeah. We had a good time and we were laughing and whatever. But what was funny is there was one part where the one character's face took like a second to load in. And it freaked out Holly. Like, she thought it was part of the game for a second. She's like, whoa. And then she told me afterwards, she was like, I had a hard time playing this game, not because, I mean, it was scary and she doesn't necessarily love scary stuff, but she said it bordered too much on being really realistic faces, and it was reaching that uncanny valley for her. And I have to agree with her. And so to round back to this question, I don't think we want games looking photorealistic for this reason. There needs to be some level of, is caricature the right word?
Caricature, yeah.
Yeah, we want that, because when we get to this weird, photorealistic level, it starts to get a little gross. This is like a known scientific thing of the uncanny valley. So have you found that with either that game specifically or other things, just to kind of tie it into this question?
See, the thing is, I feel like it has to always be a design decision. If you want to go for realistic, like I feel Last of Us Part 2 is a great example. It looks really good. The characters are very lifelike in animation and everything they do. And, the models are damn close. And so it's one of those things where I felt that elevated the game a little bit in its gameplay, because everything felt just human. I don't know how else to describe it. But I agree, because I feel like once you get to that photorealism stage, I feel like that takes away the game part. The game part is like seeing you running around in like a cell shaded universe with black outlines and crazy colors and unlikely weird looking sunsets and locations. I feel like part of the idea of a game is you do things that can't happen in real life, and some of that is visual as well. So I am with you. I really hope that they never go there, and I think it's possible to some extent, but I don't think. I think developers are aware that with how art works, that you don't want to always mimic real life, because that takes away more than it helps.
I think we can also look at anime and cartoons and understand that currently we can film a person and they look normal, but we still do anime and cartoons. So I don't see any reason why some companies won't make a photorealistic game and other companies won't still do artistic stuff. That just, I mean, they'll just have the ability to do more stuff. All
right. Next question comes in from Mr. Black. Hey guys, I'm a new patron, but I have been watching for years. Keep up the good work. Welcome.
Thank you.
A lot of new patrons lately. I'd like to ask for some advice for my new YouTube channel. I do gaming videos, just me playing games such as Red Dead Redemption 2 and ultra modded Skyrim, and a little bit of Phasmophobia. I've only been doing this for a couple of months now and would like some tips on gaining watch time and subs on YouTube. Cheers, guys. Keep it up. Love from the UK. All right, gentlemen, how can we help out Mr. Black?
I mean, fucking sucks, doesn't it? Right now sucks.
It sucks.
For anybody new. It's outrageous. I would say Man, I don't know if the goal should even be that. I don't even like to talk towards the goal being that anymore. But if your goal is that, I would say you either have to play the top tier games or you have to have a niche in your personality or time frame or something like that. And we call it shooting the gap, and I certainly do shoot the gap on some games, but you have to start looking at what everybody's going to cover and find out if there's a game that's coming out that you haven't heard anybody covering. So you can shoot the gap on that. I've done it. It's not as popular as the big game, but you might do well, because some people don't care about Valhalla, but they do care about the other game that came out the same day as Valhalla. I mean, I would say collaboration, but I'm going to be honest, man. I find most collaboration to be just abysmal. In fact, it's better to just be like, hey, do you like this? Yeah, I like this. What about you? I like this. Let's fucking talk, and that just works better than like collaborate. That's it just doesn't work out. But yeah, you have to have a niche.
Inviting a buddy over.
Ah, dude. I mean, friends just talking is a collaboration, but you don't have to use such a dirty ass, it's like your escort or something. It's creepy. Like just something about collaboration creeps me out. But I think it's difficult, man. You got to look at where there's a gap. If that's what your but if that's what you're really looking for, you really do have to find a gap there and figure out how to fill it or cover it like I do. I wouldn't be near as popular if I didn't do sound, music, and voice. Because nobody else does. There's got to be something else I'm not picking up on. Go find something you can cover in games. There's websites that just do, or there's people who make videos that just do history, like about a game, where that's all they do. Or they do like, how does this game reflect real Vikings in Valhalla? Mm-hmm. Those would work. But
I think if I could add on to what you were saying about yourself that people like, but also I think could lead just to give Mr. Black some more perspective here on what having an angle is like. I think people value your authenticity, Karak, a lot.
That's what I was going to say.
Straightforward. At least that's when I discovered you. That's what really called me to you was your authenticity, but also that sound, music, and voice was like his thoroughness. I was like, wow, he's going all the way through. It was so influential that it shaped to me to take my reviews to another level, which I think says a lot. And I think a lot of people have seen how you've had an impact on me. And so when I do my reviews, people appreciate I'm just about data, and just laying it all out there. And when it comes to other content, I think discussions and stuff, that same kind of just direct forward discussion, it's rare, right? A lot of people sugarcoat. A lot of people don't speak their mind. A lot of people are afraid to speak their mind and think they're going to hurt someone's feelings or whatever. And it's like, no, like you can be respectful and still tell it how it is. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I think, you have to identify, I put this in quotes because I don't like the term either, like the market and like, what are people looking for? And in my case, I'm like, you know what? There are a lot of great RPGs out there, but there's not like the RPG guy. And it's like, I want to be the RPG guy, like whatever Japanese role-playing game, major role-playing game you're looking at. And you can look at my channel's history. Like I went to Baldur's Gate 3. I went to Mass Effect, to Dustin's dismay. I went to Fallout. I cover a majority of the big RPGs, Persona. And so it brings up what Karak mentioned about shooting the gap a little bit, where you're not always going to have those big RPGs. Like it's awesome Cyberpunk's coming out, but Cyberpunk is also a game that's so big it can hurt you because it's like, some people have tied their entire identity to Cyberpunk, marketed their channel around it. I'm very happy my Cyberpunk videos don't erupt every time I do them, because that's a game that I think it'll stick around for a while. But when you tie yourself too closely to a product, it's really hard to tear away from that and do something new. So for me, shooting the gap and talking to Vampire, talking about Vampire the Bloodlines Masquerade 2, like that type of stuff, keep that in mind. Like I say, pick a part of the market that you're interested in. You're playing, let's see, you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2, Phasmophobia, and Skyrim. So you get the idea of trends, but then you seem to like open world games. So kind of look at what you enjoy and like where you can go from there. Like I want to shout out, I'm forgetting his name right now. I'm going to double check it, but he does a kind of horror channel where he pretty much like takes these creepypasta stories and he's been on the podcast before. I feel bad for forgetting his name because I talked to him a lot.
Oh, I was on that podcast with you.
Yeah. Awesome guy too. And I'll have to check my DMs, but there are so many angles in every market. I just think it's about caring enough to find them. So as long as you care enough to find them, you will find your angle. I promise you. But it's all about the angle. If you're not offering anything, you
Really
people
hard.
will just. And it's very hard, yes. And you probably think, well, there's so many people out there. Like, there's no way that I could find that spot. But I promise you, you can.
Yeah,
100% promise. Dustin, is there anything you wanted to tag on with that?
The only thing that I have to really add is just that the difficult thing right now is that he said he has Red Dead Redemption 2, Ultra Modded Skyrim, Phasmophobia. The thing you have to remember is that now, especially more than ever, there's 1 million or 2 million, however many videos of these games already on YouTube. So what do you have to offer that makes yours at the very least as good as half of those videos, and hopefully better? Just because the competition right now is just like, you can, and that's the hard part. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with, is that you can have like an amazing video that you spend a lot of time on, and that honestly doesn't mean anything, because a lot of great videos get completely sidelined. And it sucks, because I don't know. I am the type that I don't want to live and die by the YouTube algorithm and make my choices based on that. But there is a reality that sometimes you hook the algorithm right, and sometimes you don't. So the key is just like to stay with it and find your opportunities where you can, because you're going to spend a lot of time making videos for nobody, even if they're good. That's just how it is.
It's not that quality doesn't matter, but there is
Right.
a degree of, and by the way, the YouTuber I was talking about is Nightmind.
Nightmind, yes, thank you. Jesus.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy too, but like I said, like a good angle on like what you could do in horror. And I apologize, Nick, for forgetting. For some reason, all of a sudden, people like to DM me, and so I'm just starting to detach to my phone more. So if you are in my circle of contact, congratulations. That means I give a fuck. But yeah.
Hold up a sec here, Maddie. You said you had Nightmind on this show.
Yes.
That's crazy. I love his channel. I did
Really?
not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had him on the show.
I'm sure we could get him back on for sure. I feel like he'd be down.
A long time ago.
So he is a Mr. Matty Plays fan.
Yeah, he's actually credit to him. He's actually supported my Patreon since it started 3 years ago.
I'm gonna have to. There's a great community of horror and weird creepypasta YouTubers. I'm trying to think. Oh, Night Docs is another one that's really good. I often get in a rabbit hole with these creepy YouTubers. Well, they're not creepy YouTubers. They focus on creepy stuff.
Right now I restarted, because I've already seen 4 seasons, but I'm restarting all of the BuzzFeed mysteries, which, by the way, BuzzFeed has nothing worthwhile watching other than BuzzFeed mysteries. And it is just like, it is the best show of this kind I've ever seen in my life. It is it's a skeptic and a believer. And they started out just researching, just like the creepypasta stuff. But these guys will be like, the fucking Jack the Ripper murders. And they've got some pretty cool graphics, and they just sit in their room talking. And now they're like going to haunted houses and fucking doing interviews in the middle of the night. If you guys like any of this stuff, check out BuzzFeed Mysteries as well. It is literally how BuzzFeed is staying above float. They'll do 12 million views. Like, they'll just upload and be like, yeah, we're doing fucking Jack the Ripper, 12 million views. And they are the greatest duo I've ever seen. Like, they have that personality.
Is it called Unsolved?
With Shane, a tall Ichabod Crane looking dude, and a shorter brunette, like dark haired guy.
Yeah.
And
I'll check this out.
Dude, start from the start though. Trust me, because they don't age. And you do not want to miss one. But it'll be a story. They'll be talking. It'll be like, so a shark ended up being killed, and inside of his body was a license for a person. We found the person. Her leg was missing. Like, you're just like, wait, what? It's just fucking.
Are these like real stories, or are they just kind of?
They're all real. They're all real, and and their way of interacting the guy who's a skeptic will like go out into a haunted house at 3:00 in the morning and be like, draw a pentagram on the ground. He'll be like, come at me, demons. And the other guy who believes in it will be like, what are you doing? It's such an amazing indication of how YouTube can explode. What I mean is, and the reason why I brought it up is they didn't have to be BuzzFeed. That's what I was starting to get at. Sorry. They could have been this guy that we had on the channel. They could have been the person who asked the question. The reason why it works is because of their personality. They are not singular in what they do. Other channels do horror. They do pretty good research, but it's about having that spot, and it just works. I mean, it's hard to hit though. So good luck to you.
Good luck.
Good luck. And I mean that.
That's what you need.
Yeah.
Steve Wolf writes in, hey guys, hope things are excellent. I have 2 questions this week. Number 1, what is your favorite game within a game? An example would be like Gwent, Mother Base from MGS5, Cabaret Club from Yakuza 0, etc. What do you guys think? Favorite game within a game?
Pazak.
I was thinking Pazak, but
I just liked it. It was easy, but I played, and I love the sound.
Yeah, the sound effects definitely make it.
Sound effects were so good.
I like in Kiwami 2. It's really hard to not pick the Yakuza franchise here because they have so many games within games. I really liked in Kiwami 2 the RTS that they had in the construction site. I just thought that was really, really like the Cabaret Club management system is awesome. The mini games you can do are awesome, but that was on a whole other level. I was like, wait, this is really good. You know, and I always speak about how when it comes to Yakuza, Kiwami 1's my favorite. I really like the story and all the gameplay variety it had, but 2 was just so off the walls with so many things you could do. And then I felt the story sort of fell to the wayside, but I like 2 a lot because of that particular mode. That would definitely be one of my favorite games within a game. I think that's one of the best surprises you can find too in a game. Like I feel like Cyberpunk will likely, based off what happened with The Witcher, it really does, because you just get lost in something that absolutely is not the intention of the core design of the game. Like there's so much more to it, and it's just like a bonus. You know, and KOTOR was definitely my first encounter with that. Dustin, do you have one?
Let's see. For mine's kind of a half-assed answer because my choice would be Geometry Wars in Project Gotham Racing, but I never played it in Project Gotham Racing. I played the Xbox Live Arcade version.
Oh.
So I don't know if that really counts, but it started as a game within a game.
Okay. I think that's fair. We'll take it. Question 2, has any game not VR ever actually made you sick? I remember when BioShock Infinite came out, I beat that game in one weekend and thought it was fantastic, but I kept having to lay down because the way the city floated up and down continually made me incredibly motion sick.
Half-Life 2.
Really?
Half-Life 2 in the little hover boat. I don't know if you guys remember Half-Life 2. There's a swamp hoverboat section.
Oh,
and
yes.
It put me out. I think that was the one where I invited friends over and I was so sick they had to go home. I was just because I get motion sick pretty easy. And Tomb Raider, the old Tomb Raiders, watching other people play those would always make me really ill.
For me, I almost never get sick.
Oh wow, you're lucky.
Borderlands 3, man. That there was
there's
one mission. There were 2 actually. There was one where they had that blue kind of simulation. What happened was it was in the starting 5 hours of the game. It was a side quest, and you were like being someone else. And what they did was they laid over this blue screen that kind of just kept rippling, and it was just like you couldn't even see what the fuck was going on beyond it. But you were like still running around and having to shoot things. And Borderlands is already a flashy game, so it's like this weird effect ongoing while everything's blowing up and status effects are popping and numbers are popping. And that happened during a preview event. I think they either saw my direct feedback or someone in the studio recognized it, because I said in the preview, I was like, that was fucking terrible. And so it didn't happen in the full game, but then in the full game, I got to the jungle area. I forget the name of the planet. And I distinctly remember playing a section where there were so many enemies, like even for Borderlands, so many enemies. There was 4-player co-op. There were so many explosions. I almost get a headache thinking about it. And I actually had to shut the game off. I said, guys, I was like, I know I got to beat this for my review, but I said, I got to stop for tonight. I said, I literally feel sick. I was like, this game is making me ill. Didn't happen again after that or any time before that, outside of the one other instance I mentioned. But yeah, that game fucked me up. And I've never had it with any other title. Really weird. I mean, I've had motion sickness from VR, but that's more of an adjustment. And because I don't play it so continuously, so my body's not really accommodated to it at all, ever. Plus, fuck Facebook, so like I haven't touched it in a while.
Damn.
But that's besides the point.
I don't know.
Yeah, you said you don't get sick?
For the most part, I've been sick from a couple VR games. It's actually recently I was playing Spider-Man on the 60 FPS mode and I switched to the 30 FPS mode, and I think it was because it was so jarring. It definitely made me feel a little something weird in my stomach. But yeah, for the most part, I don't really get motion sick. So
good. We don't want that to happen to you.
Yeah,
we want to keep you safe.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Keep me healthy.
You don't realize how sick it's not normal sickness either, man.
No.
Yeah.
Getting VR sick, especially if you hit the palpitation mode where like you get the little weird sweat and you get cool in the face, and I'm like, I'm fucked. I went too long, and from that point on, it's usually all day where I feel, it's horrendous.
The thing about VR sick that I've learned from personal experience, and I recommend everybody, is that if you start to feel slightly sick, take off the headset.
Yeah.
It will not get better. It will only get worse.
Yeah,
so
that's what I do. Usually around the 2-3 hour mark is when I hit it, and I'm like, okay.
Do you know mine's gone away pretty much though with boning, the secondary antihistamine? So the normal Benadryl, which is the normal thing you would put a patch behind your ear if you got seasick, that'll make you tired. But there's a company that makes something called boning, which is like the secondary antihistamine, so it doesn't go through the blood-brain barrier. It doesn't make you tired. And now I've been taking one 30 minutes prior to VR. I don't even know if I need them because a couple times I forgot, and I've played hours of like John Wick in VR without it. And dude, that shit's a miracle worker. Because it doesn't make you tired, which Benadryl has a pretty big effect on me if I take it. Like it makes me pretty groggy. And somebody was telling me it's like Europe originally started using it. Now it's in America too. And so if you're listening, you get motion sick, you can take that shit. Doesn't make you tired, and fucking, at least for me, no motion sickness at all. Completely fixes it. So,
good.
Just a heads up on that.
Mike Fury writes in, hope you guys are in great health and awesome spirits. Just a quickie today. Is it possible or likely that From Software would make a game that's not hard as balls? Because I would love Elden Ring to be challenging and not so time-consuming due to the many deaths, of course.
Agreed.
Destiny, their VR game, it's not supposed to be hard, right?
Oh, I never played that one.
Me neither, but I heard that it wasn't very hard. I don't think it's supposed to be that type of game, though.
I think...
Right.
I obviously this conversation will take us very off course here. We'll try not to get carried away, but I think Elden Ring will be the telling response on how FromSoft will carry themselves with all this easy mode and accessibility, and how it will be for their future games, because the response has been clear with Demon's Souls remake recently, but also most notably with Sekiro. That's where it really blossomed, that people want, like a subsection of gamers want an easy mode or some type of accessibility options. And when Elden Ring comes around, we will see what exactly they plan on doing with that. I think that's when we'll learn how FromSoft will carry themselves. And, when it comes to that, I guess you could get your answer then, because then technically they are making easier games. But I don't know, man. Their games are so finely crafted and tuned that I get a little nervous of thinking of them trying to balance like 3 different difficulties, or a primary difficulty and a easy mode. I don't know. Something about it. I just know that one thing they will do is if you pick a difficulty, they will lock you in. You will not change that throughout the duration of your gameplay, and you cannot change it in response to a boss. So if you got stuck, you're stuck.
Yeah.
You cannot go to easy. I guarantee they will do that if they do put a difficulty mode in. I mean, I feel like
I agree with all that, actually.
I feel like on one end, the designers probably want to not do this, but at the same time, sales would maybe increase if there was more. But at the same time, I think it's a phenomenon. Like, beating the game is significant. It makes it fun to watch.
It is, but I just don't think. I think that that's it's sort of like a focus created because that's the only option you have. Mm-hmm. I do not think it would go away.
That's fair.
If From said normal mode, what would they call it? Original mode or whatever. And that's your balanced, that's your game as they normally make it. And then they just were like, Ninja Dog mode. Wasn't that the mode in Ninja Gaiden where you wore like a pink outfit and it was super easy? I think that was Ninja Dog mode in the Xbox. Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden Black had Ninja Dog mode. And I think that was the one where like one hit kills for all the enemies and you wore a pink ninja suit or something like that.
they berate you for
no, they did. They were like, you wanted it because
horrible.
So Ninja Gaidens were considered really hard. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, those were considered revoltingly hard. So I can see them. I could certainly, and From would not tease you, I bet. I don't think From would do that. They wouldn't do what those guys did, but I could see them saying, balanced mode and unbalanced mode. And they're just like, okay, you have 10 times the health, and enemies do this or whatever. And that's just, maybe you won't unlock achievements. Maybe you won't, I don't know, but look at DMC. DMC has the auto finisher mode where it would post up on the actual screen while you're playing. If you do the easy mode in that, it says you're doing the easy mode on the screen. So every move you do is one button, but everybody can see you're doing it, which I find that was a little rude, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. Next question is from Billy Mays. I shit you not.
Oh, right. He's selling Oxy, what's that cleaner that Billy Mays Hayes used to sell? OxyClean?
Is it OxyClean? Yeah.
OxyClean, yeah. What's he saying?
Who's the one who's the guy who does the Flex Seal tape? And he's
Billy Mays used to sell it until he died. I don't know who sells it now, but big black beard, right?
Yeah. But there was someone else.
Billy Mays Hayes.
Who took like a samurai sword to a pool and then slapped Flex Seal on it.
I haven't seen that one. I bought that stuff, by the way. It's not amazing. And just for the warning. Yeah, we tried.
Dude, he got me because I look at the commercials and I'm like, dude, there's no way that doesn't work.
Maddie's like, dude, ninja swords. It fixed it. It's for sure real.
Exactly.
You're the guy at 3 a.m. watching it on TV going, for sure real, dude. They wouldn't have done that if that wasn't real.
There's no way he would take a blade to a pool if,
wouldn't
it's not going to work. A question for you all. Recently, I've gone down a rabbit hole watching videos about old Lego sets I used to own as a kid, and it got me thinking, when you weren't gaming, what was your favorite activity to do as a kid? This can be either a favorite toy or hobby, or what you would do with your friends. Stay safe and warm.
Reading or writing for me, for sure.
You were a sophisticated child. I wouldn't
say that.
Take my action figures and I'd make cross-universe stories with them in my head. Like, for me, I would never, like Spider-Man and Batman, I want them to fight, but I always be like, how do you get that to happen? And I'd take the Ninja Turtles. I'd be like, Donatello's smart. He made a time travel machine. Spider-Man's in New York City. They time traveled to like wherever the fuck Batman is. And that's how I made sense of it. So I would like decorate my room with like all different props and I would create these epic battles. It was actually like probably the core of my creativity. That was my peak when I was like 8 years old, just creating these amazing sets.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here first. Maddie peaked at 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Damn. You're getting my worst content right now.
You're getting the absolute bottom of the fucking barrel right now. You're 20 years too late, people. Yeah. I'm just saying. You should have checked him out when he was 8. He would have had some awesome content if YouTube was a fucking thing. But
what did you do, Dustin?
For me, I did a lot of stuff. Like I would make like stupid videos with my friends, which is probably why I ended up making stupid videos as an adult.
Same.
I played in bands when I was in high school.
What instrument? Oh, guitar.
I play guitar. And when I was younger in like elementary school, I did a lot of reading. I read all the time, and now I just don't read at all, which is unfortunate. I read sometimes here and there, but nowhere near as much. So yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Did you ever like play a song for Holly on your guitar?
No, because I'm just not. I'm she wouldn't like that, and neither would I. Honestly, I mean, I've played songs, but it's not like I'm gonna sit down. You're gonna listen as I play you this romantic song. No, nothing like that.
It's not. Yeah.
It was just like we were hanging out, and maybe I would play something.
Dope. You handled it really casually.
Oh yeah. I mean,
It's a part of you.
Holly and I'm like I don't want to say anti-romantic, but we're not the traditional romance. I've never been that type to be like, let's get dressed up, let's go out to a dinner, and I'll buy flowers and stuff like that. We've been very
I'm definitely in that same boat. Yeah.
More the like, hey, let's go to this arcade, or let's do this thing that we actually would enjoy doing. You know what I mean? That
For sure.
type.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Yeah. It's just, we would like, at times we'll go out and be adults, but most times like we're like, let's go to bounce. let's go like jump on a bunch of trampolines and shit.
I've never done that. I've always wanted to though.
It's a workout. If people think it's fun, it is exercise though.
I believe it.
Because like I was just leaping back and forth and just being a kid, and I was like, holy fuck, I'm out of breath. And then like you see these little like 10-year-olds hopping up and just like grabbing
just
ledges,
going all over the place.
Yeah, they're like fucking ninjas out there, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I could barely make it up to the top, and I thought I was in good shape, but I guess not. These kids are fearless, man. Good for them. Oh wait, wow, this is actually hilarious. This is why we don't read. Billy Mays goes, but wait, there's more. In a separate message. What is one game franchise / universe that you would want to see a Souls-like game in? Personally, I think Shadow of the Colossus universe is more than perfect for the Soulsborne treatment.
Castlevania.
Oh, dude, yeah. Wow, that's a good one. A game series that... Imagine something like Destroy All Humans, Soulsborne. I don't know why. That just like, I'm thinking like, imagine something just... That's absolutely not fitting at all.
Just balls out that like nobody would ever mix the two. Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome though. I mean,
I would like to see a shooter of some kind, like a Fallout. Souls. I don't think Fallout would. Like crafting, scrapping, I guess maybe, but I would like to see a shooter of some kind because I know Ashes. What was it like? Revenant. From the Ashes or something like that.
Remnant,
yeah. That seemed like an attempt at that. And I thought
it was an attempt.
Never played it though, but I'd like to see, because it's always about the medieval look and the swords and whatnot.
Maddie, you might like that game, by the way.
Yeah,
I want to check that out. Yeah, I wasn't a fan, but the way and knowing the type of games you like to play and stuff like that, and it's been patched a bunch. That's the FYI. That's a game you might want to check out. See if you can find at I think you might like that one. Yeah,
I'll definitely be giving it a look because I just feel like that's like even the Soulsborne type of I don't want to say copies, but inspirations do the same thing with Melee. Like even though I love Neo 2 because it's very fast and frenetic, it still has that melee combat. I'd like to see them diverge from that with one series or another.
I think they were onto something with Jedi Fallen Order definitely has a lot of souls in it. I wish they would have taken it further. But
do you?
Oh yeah.
Maybe further would have been better actually. Because I felt it was fucking a shitty sandwich because it wasn't either or. So I think I agree with you. Yeah, if it was farther, it's fine. If it's not in there, it's fine. But the way it was, just
yeah,
I would put money on it. And I know Respawn was doing their own thing, and they said as much. But I would put money on it if EA was not publishing it. It was literally just a Respawn game. That they would have gone all the way. I feel like,
and it's lightsabers, right? Like if there's any game in the world where you die from one fucking hit, is it not probably a lightsaber?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. So I think going further on that, yeah, makes sense. Not where they are, but that it'll be cool to see because I'm sure we're going to get a sequel to that. I mean, I think
it's already been
confirmed
via reports, but yeah, It's definitely happening. It did too well to not.
And dude, we can get another 50 ponchos that all look the fucking same except are slightly different color.
I really hope that they
with your customization.
I really hope they take the customization a little further. I don't need it in every game, but when you try, I expect better. You know, is what
Here's
I'm
a
trying
screw.
to say.
It's this fucking big. You put it on your waist on a lightsaber you never see. You're just like, dude, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, really, really underwhelming. So I hope they definitely take that a little bit further, and I'm sure they will. I hope they will. Rather.
What do you guys think about like a Game of Thrones could go? Dark Souls, obviously. I would love to see a vampire style game go like, because I'm a big World of Darkness fan. But I think, Vampire the Masquerade, that kind of stuff. But I think a lot of times they don't get in fights. They kill one another. Somebody surprises somebody. I think that'd be cool. But I guess Vampire sort of did that if you turn the difficulty up. Now that I think about it, it could be difficult, high difficulty.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, vampires and stuff. I'll stick with my shooter idea. That's what I'll go with. Natural Calamity writes in, the thing about Souls-like is that it's harder to... Oh, I'm sorry, this was a response. I apologize.
I think he was responding to the other question, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And then there's a little conversation. Sorry, I apologize. See, I was just bragging about why we don't read because Billy Mays hit us with a wait, there's more, but then here we are.
Fucking us up, man.
Yeah, y'all are conversing in the question section.
How dare you talk in there?
Not allowed. Not allowed. Now we have an actual question from Skooma Vendor. Expanding in the question from last week in co-op games, did any of you guys ever play Fable 2's co-op system? The person joining would spawn as a generic mercenary to assist player one throughout the world with quests. But the cool part was when they joined you, you had to agree and make a deal on how you split the gold and XP early, as the joining player could take their gold and XP back to their game. Always thought this was a great way of doing it. I do remember this. I actually played a lot of Fable 2 in co-op. This game was amazing on its own, but yeah, co-op was the main way I played it. I forgot about that.
And yeah, I personally believe Fallout, we talked about this last week. I think it was you and me, Maddie, maybe after Dustin had left, or it was the week prior, but we were talking about Fallout 4. I had wanted it co-op, and I was like, why can't you just have so many NPCs that join you? Why not just have one of the players be the NPC? So I think Fallout 2's idea of co-op is what I would like to see in a lot of games. Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Dustin, do you ever have a chance to play Fable 2 co-op?
I didn't.
Or Fable at all?
I remember this. I played a lot of the first Fable, but not Fable 2. So, but I remember that, and I do think it's an interesting idea to just kind of... It's weird because it feels like simplistic and almost too obvious, but no one's ever really done it like that. So, yeah, I'd love to see more of it.
A first Fable... I got to shout out the anniversary edition on Game Pass because the PC version sucks, or at least in my experience, it sucked when it came to running. It just wasn't optimized well. But on Xbox Series X now, because it's a little more powerful and it's on the console, it runs a lot better. It's a lot more enjoyable to play.
Did you check out Viking?
Battle for Asgard?
Fucking A.
I gotta get that game,
did you
man.
get to watch us talking about Viking? You probably didn't watch. I mean, I wouldn't watch us if I wasn't on here, but we were talking about Viking. Did you ever play that on the 360?
No.
Oh, dude.
Damn. You're lucky.
Talk about motion sick.
Whoa.
God, that game. Dogs.
Slow motion madness. No, you're good. Look up, when you get a chance, look up Viking Battle for Asgard. It is...
Holy shit. They're freaking out. Sorry. I have no clue what's happening. Good. I'm being attacked.
I've seen this game.
We were joking about games we liked when we played them, and then you go back and look and go, what the was I doing? Like,
yeah. You know what I get a kick out of with dogs barking is I always feel like they're in a pissing match, because what'll happen is Revan will bark, Duke will bark, Revan will bark a little bit louder, Revan will bark, or Duke will bark a little bit louder, and they just bop, 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 like firing off shots back and forth. It never fails. Every time, Revan can't just bark and just that be it. It's got to be Revan, Duke, and then they're both barking at the same time like idiots. And I'm like, what is wrong with you two? And it's because someone walked by down the street, like a mile away. That's all it takes.
Oh my God.
For those who don't know, on the video version, Karak's just really like letting his dogs have it
Dude,
verbally.
It's fucking nuts, man.
Verbally. Now, I guess, is it a good time for you to answer a question that Schizo wrote in, or should we skip until the dogs choose that it's time for you to answer?
No, we're good.
We're good? Karak, can you think of why Sony designed the PS5's SSD to be 825 gigabytes instead of 1 terabyte? When I heard it was 825, I assumed that was the user available space after the OS took up the rest of the 1 terabyte. Does it have anything to do with how custom the SSD was designed? It's just weird.
That is weird. I honestly still thought it was the OS.
I thought it was too.
I because I'm pretty sure I had 800 when I got my PS5.
I think it's like 600 some.
Was it 600? Okay. So, yeah, I will say whenever you format something, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you lose a couple hundred megs every time you format something. So I'm wondering if their OS requires extra space for copy and paste. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but the PS4, when you'd install an update, the PS4 would copy it twice, which meant it was glacial in its speed. And I'm wondering if there's some caching going on. Also, there's probably, to be honest, if it's an NVMe, if it's RAM, all that, they probably have a section set off for trim, which is not sexual trim where it goes in. Just want to make sure nobody thinks I'm talking about something creepy.
Of course.
It basically looks at the sections, and if anyone does not read twice, I think if any section doesn't read twice, it's considered non-writable. It's considered bad. And so what they may do is they may have some sectioned off a little bit so that they can retrieve it for later on. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, I talked about this in the last podcast, their recording ability is insane on the PS5. It's phenomenal. It's 1 hour. 1 hour of 4K, I think. And even a developer for another company was like, how are they doing that on an NVMe without their rewrites being so high that the drive fails very quickly? Maybe that's where that's happening, because Microsoft's is only 15 minutes at HD and 30 minutes at 720 or something. Like right. It's a gargantuan amount on the PS4, which is great, by the way, if you want to, get footage of stuff. I love it.
Yeah, it definitely helps having that retroactive recording because all of us can speak to it that there's times maybe the capture card's not running and you can have that just saved and you can bring it up and then record it straight to your PC later on. And just having that much carry back. So
yeah, it's insane.
But it's
insane.
It really is. It gives you a lot of leeway because sometimes I'll sit there and I'll just capture everything just because I don't want to miss anything. But knowing you can go back an hour and just be like, all right, gather all of that up.
Do you ever look at your hard drive too after all of it, and you're like, and you just see like huge terabytes of like for a game, and you're like, oh, are you fucking kidding me, man?
Dude, that's the thing is having an editor has been amazing and extremely helpful. And now with recording in 1440p 60, it's like these file sizes have infinity.
Hey, how do you get it to the editor though? Are you using or if you don't mind, if you don't want to say it,
you're
fine.
No,
how are you? Are you doing physical?
I use OneDrive. He's in Australia, so I upload straight to OneDrive, and he just downloads it.
From Australia? With his, kangaroo internet?
He lives, I don't know where exactly he lives, but he lives in the city, so the kangaroo internet is a lot more improved there.
No shit. Interesting.
I asked him what his download speeds were, because I said, hey, man, just so you know, these file sizes are going up.
Yeah, they're going to be big.
Get you stuff in advance so that you have time to download it. But yeah, he was telling me, look, let's put it this way. He downloaded Black Ops Cold War. So, I mean, he's got decent internet, I guess, because he played it within a certain set of days. So it's there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I'm at 1.2 terabyte just for Valhalla. So
yeah, dude.
That's crazy. That's really cool. I'm glad that worked.
When I record, I try to make it as easy on people who edit my videos as possible. So what I'll do is I will, not that you don't, by the way, but what I'll do is I'll try to record in bursts of like 15, 20 minutes and target something that I'm going to talk about. So while I'm writing notes, I write them down and then I go into another session and I kind of do targeted recordings of like, okay, this is world event. Let's talk about Valhalla, world event. This is sync point. This is side quest. This is raids. This is progression. This is equipment. And so I send them like 80 files, but they're all like 500 megabytes. It's a lot, but it's just smart. It just has a Control F search, and so it's really plug and play. So yeah, because obviously we all know editing's a fucking bitch.
Because
So,
Dustin,
like,
I think when you and I talked about this a while ago, you were saying some of your guys' stuff had been physical for a while, right? With Colin, didn't you say like some of it was like you had to go and get the drive or something? Or was I smoking dope?
He had wanted, before hiring me, he wanted someone local so they could do
okay.
that.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we just use Google Drive and Dropbox for all of our stuff, but we're not dealing with the file sizes that you guys are.
Yeah, but still, that's cool. It's very awesome to know that that does work, because I've always hedged on the side of it being too big. I had not thought about that, but that's cool.
Dustin, remember when we were doing our Persona project and just like we had to go back and forth like 45-minute files to like get anything like as we weeded everything out? Yeah, it was just constant back and forth. Then you had the brilliant idea to render them in sections, and we just take it section by section and put them all together at the end. That was like a lifesaver.
Basically, what we were doing, because I don't know if it was, clear totally, is that I was editing parts and I was sending it to you for review. And we were trying to hit a deadline. So we knew that Persona 4 Golden was coming to PC.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like editing chunks. This was like a 45-minute video, right? It was so long.
It came out super long.
Yeah. So I would edit a chunk, render it, send it to Maddie. You'd approve it or make changes, request changes, whatever. So it was it was quite a big.
Have you guys ever thought about, this is getting off the subject, but real quick, I was just going to say, I know a lot of places now you can rent the online Premiere. You can like rent a desktop that's online and use their online. So you're just basically streaming to their cursor, and doing everything external. And it's not super expensive. There's been a couple times where I'm like, that would be pretty cool if two people like both of you guys, like let's say the transferring doesn't work. It's like, but if it goes somewhere, and one of you guys can control the mouse and just cut and paste and, do it over the internet. It's pretty crazy what you can do now with all this. I mean, streaming helps, obviously.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I guess theoretically, Maddie, I could have had you like parsec into my PC and just watch sections of it.
Yep. That you could have.
I had no idea what parsec was until game previews like a couple months ago.
We're getting real off topic here, but fuck it. When I was at PAX, I met the founder of Parsec and I was like, this product is amazing, but you're in the wrong market because you'd make way more money if you made this a productivity tool for businesses.
You're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about that.
And he was like, yeah, I think that that's a possibility, but we just really like gaming and we want to stick to that. And I was like, okay, you're leaving millions of dollars on the table, which I think that they have somewhat pivoted because they especially during the pandemic, they really they changed their tools around to be used in a lot of different ways. So
gotcha.
But yeah, if anyone hasn't checked out Parsec, it is a phenomenal free program to stream your PC to other PCs.
Yeah. In-hole. It's crazy. Dow writes in, Maddie, you say Platinum is one of your favorite dev studios, but have you played Mad World? No. For those who don't know, this is like a comic, black and white comic style hack and slash on the Wii from Platinum Games. It looks awesome.
Is that their first game?
I actually don't know. I know I missed out on a large chunk of the Wii's library. I'm pretty open about my lack of Nintendo growing up outside of like Pokemon and a couple others. Like I always tell people, well, I did play a lot of Pokemon. Like my version of Pokemon was Mega Man Battle Network. So I was on Nintendo systems, but like while people were playing Luigi's Mansion, I was playing Naruto Clash of Ninja, which was like a GameCube exclusive fighting game. Like, so I was on these systems, but I was playing widely different games from other people. Even if they were super popular. Not because I didn't want to, which I'll be honest, I didn't have the money, man. Like I didn't have the money. I liked going to GameStop and buying like Naruto for $15 instead of Luigi's Mansion for $40. Like it was way more appealing because I knew I was getting something I liked with one of them. But yeah, I have not played Mad World. Two on my list, or one on my list rather, is Wonderful 101. I still have to get around to the remaster for that. All right, next set of questions coming from Vault 101 guy. One, bit of a networking question. I'm trying to really up my networking speed. I'm debating on going with Karak's advice of getting the Powerline adapters, but I'm also considering Google's mesh routers for my Google Fiber. Or should I go with a solid router? I also don't have a huge house, but it's 2 stories.
I don't think there's even a discussion. Like if you can do it wired, it makes more sense. If you can do power line, that's amazing. But Google Mesh is still wireless. You're still going to have any wireless issues. I mean, Google Mesh is awesome, but a power line adapter is the fucking like magic. Or Mocha, which is the one that uses the cable television adapters, and you can also get those. Dude, it's magic. It's so weird to have your internet come out of your fucking power plug. Like your brain is looking at it going, I don't understand how this works. They're called power line adapters, and you basically plug one in.
Bring this up.
You plug it in near your router, and you take a router cable, and instead of going to your Xbox, you plug it into that, and then you take the receiver and go to your Xbox and plug it into the power plug there, and then plug your LAN cable in, and it uses the electrical wiring of your house for internet, and it adds zero. I've tested for hours, 0 millisecond lag, as in 0 more than lining it directly from my router. They're insane. The only thing you have to do is you have to make sure you're on the same breaker. So that took me like, a little while. I had to like move my Xbox 1, inch over and do a longer cable to plug it in, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But wireless, I don't know about you guys. I'd like to know what you guys think, but my wireless experience has not been great with the consoles. It's been pretty spotty.
So it's not just me. Yeah, me and Fighting Cowboy were supposed to stream Demon Souls Remake co-op, and my wireless on my console has been terrible. My wireless at home isn't that great, I'll admit, but my wired is strong. I haven't lagged out. We had a windy storm, but that was like back on Sunday or Monday, and so it should have been fine by the time we were going to stream, which was Thursday, but it was still very spotty. And so it's not just me. It might be something.
No, I've had some oddities there with it. It might be more susceptible to bandwidth or to interference.
Both of mine are wired, but I think the PS5 has like a newer Wi-Fi chip than the Xbox.
It does, but unfortunately you have to have every single thing has to be updated to it. So it's sort of like, oh, look, we have Wi-Fi 6. I have Wi-Fi 6, but one part of the Wi-Fi 6 thing is not here. So my PS5 is Wi-Fi 5.
Yeah.
But you have to have the router, which is like $600, depending on what one you buy. You have to have all your cabling correct. You have to. So it's just sort of like, I get it, but it's sort of future, I think, because like Comcast isn't rolling out for most people Wi-Fi 6. If your router went bad, maybe they would. But but it's very cool. Definitely faster speed for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing PlayStation really improved on, download speeds. I actually downloaded.
Oh, yeah.
I downloaded the Spider-Man PS5 remaster in like 30 minutes. And I went, wow, that is a welcome surprise. Because me and my girlfriend, she was over and she was like, why don't we play this? And I said, oh, well, it's got a downloaded PlayStation. They're slow. I said, hey, let's go on a walk, and I'm sure it'll be done within an hour. And I get an update on my phone. Another cool part of them updating, I get an update on my phone within like 30 minutes that it was ready to play, and it was done. Like not just like in that first state, but like it was just completely done. Crazy to see for PlayStation.
Very nice.
Number 2 from Vault 101 guy. When would be a good time to buy these consoles? I've always been the one to wait so I don't run into many issues that plagues the first batch. You should continue on that path would be my advice. You should continue to wait. We can't tell you when. For me, my suggestion would be wait for when you see a library of games only available to that system that only you can get there. I would not wait. A lot of people sit on it until there's like 4 or 5. But you're human. There's time, there's work, there's things to do. Life happens. Wait till there's like 3 games tops, I think, that are exclusive to that system that you cannot get anywhere else for at least a number of months. And maybe then buy in, because as someone who's very software driven, that would push me over the top, is knowing I had games to play. But when you're waiting like 5-6 games, you're not going to play and beat all of those, because by the time you're done with maybe that second one, something new's come out. So think about that as well.
And I would say, if you're asking us, it's not time.
I agree.
Like it sounds really weird, but I shouldn't be deciding your $500. Like at that point, it is like if you're still hedging, it's okay to hedge. It's okay to wait. And I think we just heard Brian is talking about PS4 and PS5 being supported. Microsoft, we already knew that. I'm sure Sony or Nintendo. Well. I'm going to take away the Nintendo thing, but I'm sure Sony and Microsoft are making sure that there's coverage for whatever. So I think you're set for a while, until something amazing comes out, which, or more amazing things.
He also writes in asking if there's life, some other life in another universe.
We're in the universe, not another. That's a whole nother can of worms.
That's a whole nother can of worms, isn't it?
I'm sorry. Do you think there is other life somewhere in the universe? I answered this question, so.
Most likely. The universe is so big.
So
probably.
I would agree, but now and this would answer it as well, but I've been studying the old fucking simulation theory, and like it certainly does feel sometimes like there's more of a chance that if you can simulate it, you are in the simulation. And it's like, which would indicate that there is at least one other race, but dude, it's weird that we don't see anything. I mean, right. At some point, yeah, if you study like the Great Filter and stuff like that, which is an indication that there's some massive event that always destroys radio bearing technology or radio bearing like alien civilizations. The fact that we don't see anything, and they've checked all the time. I mean, they're constantly checking. SETI at Home was around when I was living in my old city. So 15 years SETI at Home started. And we haven't seen anything yet. It's sort of lonely when you think about it. It's like,
it is kind of sad.
I mean, because I would have hoped, I wanted Independence Day, bitches. Like either fight them or best friends with them. Like that's like that. I want, and instead we got nothing. It's just sort of sad.
Mafatcock writes in, personally, I do most of my gaming on my PlayStation.
It went from normal to that.
No, I know, right? I mean, hey, look, this is the game he plays. If he wants to have that silly name, we're going to treat him normal. That's how it works here. But I love my Xbox as well. I love the value that Game Pass brings. Nevertheless, I often see PlayStation Now get downplayed. It's a service that costs $5 a month for a year, or in my case, $34 a year on sale. It's a service that offers the major Fallout games, Dishonored series, Metal Gear Solid, Infamous, Ratchet & Clank, Bloodborne, Rage 2, the list goes on. Of course, some of these are only good if you have the internet that makes streaming feasible, but there is certainly a lot of value there. Don't get me wrong, the selection is widely better on Game Pass, but for $5 a month, this is a solid service to get anyone buying a new console started. My question is, what can Sony do to both promote this better and improve it? The landscape of gaming appears to be gradually changing, and services are starting to take over. You can't sit around and let their own console become a Game Pass machine as well. Jim Ryan also said, and we didn't include this in the show, or rather I decided not to because there wasn't much more to go on, but he suggested that they are making a response to Game Pass soon, like relatively soon. He said like people should expect this. So I don't know if that does mean there will be changes to PS Now that we may see. That because they did do PS Plus collection. I think that is their. I thought that was their Game Pass response, but maybe it's not, and they are going to do something with PS Now that says like, "Hey, this would be crazy," and I doubt it would ever happen. But it's the first thing that comes to mind, and would instantly expand their libraries. Like, oh, you can download every single game here that is not PS4. So if it were PS3, you could play that, and you would not have to worry about streaming it. We'd not have to worry about internet because they did respond to that. You know, PS4 games there are downloadable. You don't have to stream them. But for those that, you know, want to play something from their PS3 library, maybe that's something that they.
On the other hand, do you guys expect Jim Ryan to be all, we ain't doing shit?
Yeah.
Like, nah, don't look at us. Game Pass is awesome, but we're not really doing anything. I mean, who knows what they're doing? I think that collection is good. I think that collection is just 20 games, right?
Yeah,
20 or something.
About 20. Yeah, they're really good games in there too.
Days Gone's in there. Days Gone's got an excellent patch, by the way, which improves its performance to actually suitable levels. So, I mean, I don't know.
Bloodborne's in there.
He said, what should they do to better promote it? And I would say better promote it. Your answer is in your question. You know, don't try to go against Game Pass though, right? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that seems like that would just cost millions for no reason. Do your own thing. And they're doing great. They've got their own IPs that people are, they don't have to be number one on everything.
Yeah.
Right. Also, I don't know where he's getting PS Now for $5 a month or $34 a year.
From G2 Games or whatever that one place is that everybody's bitching about.
Even on, because I Googled PlayStation Now yearly subscription, and the cheapest I can find is on CD keys for $45 for a year.
Wow.
So
Wow. I see. The thing is, I'm so out of PS now that didn't even like raise any question marks for me. So wow, he's getting it fucking scarily cheap.
If you're new, or I've been looking at, because I accidentally bought a second month of PS Now because I did a video on it a month ago and I let it re-up. So I was looking at it yesterday, like, is there anything I really want to play here? And if you are not, let's say you just got a PS5 or even a PS4, PlayStation Now would be fantastic. I look at the games and I'm like, the big games on this I've already played, and the smaller games I'm not interested in. So it does not speak to me
I agree.
as a service. But if you're, if you're picking up a PS4 right now just because they're cheap, dude, PS Now would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the issue. I don't think PS Now covers that mid-tier ground. Like for me, when I was on Game Pass, there were so many games I saw that I went, wow, like Spiritfarer, Indivisible, and Battle for the Grid. Immediately 3 games that I went, these are games I wanted to play.
Paid for the cost of it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And I downloaded each of them, and I do plan on playing them. Like that's where I think PS Now is lacking. They need more of that. And I think PS Plus collection needs a little bit more of that. And maybe they balance it out with the monthly games and then the collection. And then if they're doing a Game Pass response and PS Now, I don't know, man. I don't know. They're still figuring shit out, clearly. Funkrat writes in with a couple of questions. It's been a while since I wrote in. So, one, how's your week been? We'll start off with that. I mean, we've definitely talked about it. Good as well. All right. On a completely different note, number 2, would you rather, A, find out that intelligent life on other planets exists, meaning humans aren't inherently special beings? Yes, we're getting another extraterrestrial question. Just we are another of many. Or B, find out that we are completely alone in the universe, a lone speck of consciousness in an unfathomably giant void. I would imagine A. That would be a little creepy at first. Oh, you would rather just be alone?
Yeah, because honestly, if we find aliens, they're probably gonna kill us, or we're gonna kill them. So we might as well just
avoid
be
the
alone
violence.
forever. Forever alone, humanity.
Yeah, that's not a bad answer. I live in a mindset where we befriend them, we advance each other,
and Mass Effect begins.
Yes, exactly.
You just want Mass Effect to be real, Maddie.
I do, because then at that point, I don't need to make Mass Effect videos. I will join in interspecies relations.
Yep, exactly.
I will engage with the aliens. I did not mean that. No,
you said I
meant engaged. Like I'll do communications with them. I will.
Maddie,
maybe teach them our ways, and we will share knowledge, and I will communicate with the U.S. government on what is happening with the Turian species. That type.
You
of
can
stuff.
engage however you like, Maddie, but we all know what you meant.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Red Eyes White Wolf. What would your ideal KOTOR 3 be in terms of narrative and gameplay? My default answer, because I've answered this so many times, my default answer is that you take the Revan book, you make it into a game. That's all you do. Comes from the mind of Drew Karpyshyn, who helped shape the first one. The second one happened under the careful, crafted, steady hand, of Obsidian. Let him wrap it up. And the book is that. So I would like that, personally.
That's a good answer.
How about
gameplay? What, sorry?
I was going to say, how about Knights of the Older Republic? Or the Oldest Republic?
The oldest. Yeah, just a little bit older.
Wow. Yeah.
Revan's a baby. I mean, like anything in a old universe for Star Wars is all me, baby. So I will take the oldest Republic. The oldest Republic you've got. 100%. Next is Natural Calamity. As we narrow down our list of questions here, we're reaching the end. He's coming in with 3. He's breaking our 2-question rule again. He won't learn. So guess what, Natural? We're cracking down. Everyone else has followed the 2-question rule, if you've noticed. I don't think we've gone beyond 3. Oh, we did. Vault 101 guy he squeaked by. I didn't realize
that. He's new,
that.
though.
No,
right?
He's been around decent amount. Yeah, he's been around a decent amount of time. Vault 101 guy, though, his third question was very quick.
Right.
So Natural Calamity, I'm cracking down on you again.
Can we skip the Valhalla question for Natural Calamity? I don't want to talk about Assassin's Creed anymore. Enough.
That's fine. We probably
enough.
I'm
Assassin's
100%
Creed.
for that.
Okay, cool. So then
Karak's
Natural,
in.
you've worked yourself into a corner.
definitely.
Question 1. I am really wanting to feel the impact of next gen, but I'm not ready to spend $500. And with the $300 low price of the Series S, I want to say goodbye to the disk drive. A thing I thought of was getting a Series S2 Elite controller, a new feel for the new gen. What are your thoughts on this? And what are some other ways I can get the feeling of something new and exciting?
Go outside, look at a tree.
I was gonna make that joke, but I feel like I already clowned on him enough.
Get it or don't. Like, I don't know, man. It's so weird to have these like
go outside and look at
I always feel uncomfortable because it's like, am I missing something? Or are these guys that nervous about their money? Like, if you are, then God damn it, don't buy whatever you think about getting. Like,
I will speak. Really I will play. I think what you're saying is somewhat true, but I will say I think they trust our opinions, and so they want especially you, Karak. Like I said, you have authority. You may not realize it, but you speak with
right. But just get an S if you want a fucking S, man. Like, here's the thing. Just fucking get it. Like, you can't achieve next gen without one of those. Right? So he's like, how do you feel if you're going to get something new? Go outside, look at a fucking tree. That's brand new. Otherwise, get an S. And I wouldn't get an S.
One of the funniest things has been said on this show. Go look at a fucking tree.
I'm just like, guys, man, make up shit or get off the fucking pot, people.
Yeah. Wow. I got veins popping out of my head. That was so funny.
Guys, I just realized that.
What's up?
He can't even go in and get half of these in a store anyway, if he wanted to, because of the shortages.
They're not available, yeah.
And we're like, yeah, here's my
answer.
Go buy a PS5. See you in 6 months when you get it.
I'm going to say, buy, what could give you a new feel? Yeah, maybe a new controller, maybe buy a new pair of headphones. It's a little cheaper investment, maybe.
Outside of next gen, yeah, new pair of headphones. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah.
Dude, the Series S, I don't know. I've not used one, but I've seen the Digital Foundry videos, and that device looks underwhelming to me in a lot of different ways. So I think
it's, for us and our crowd, I think it's not appealing whatsoever. But I think if you're very casual, it's like really nice to have a cheap way to buy in the next gen and have access to those games. I think that's at least the goal. Like, I don't even think it targets us.
I think you're right. I don't think it targets us, but even then, like, the storage space is so low at 500 gigs, which I guess if you're the type of person, you're only playing 1 or 2 games at a time, and you only want to have 1 or 2 of those loaded. It's just so, the thing about the Series S for me that is the most surprising is that even from Microsoft first party, they're not meeting up to their marketing statement saying, hey, this is a 1440p machine. Like, the Series S optimized games aren't hitting 1440p. Like,
some
Horizon. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. So, I don't know. To me,
but I mean, that's like PS5. Some aren't hitting 4K. At some point, who gives a shit? It's $299. Go fucking get it or don't. Shit or get off the pot. I mean, I don't think any of us are even looking at the S. And the S is great. I mean, it plays Valhalla at 30, which is fucking phenomenal for a system like that. But it's not for us.
Right.
I mean, it's so casual. Do you know what that is for, dude? That's for a person who doesn't have a lot of money and wants Game Pass as well, right? And they get a system that has some improvements with the SSD, which is awesome. Cold storage works on that system, but you're absolutely right. Shitty storage. I think, by the way, I have an X and I think it's shitty storage, and I have a PS5 and I also think that's shitty storage, even at a terabyte, because of how big these games are. But I agree with you. They're just, I mean, just fucking get the system or don't. I don't know. I don't mean to cut you off, Dustin, but I mean, we could go for an hour on what doesn't meet our desired requirements.
Right.
I don't know. I just
from the perspective of Natural Calamity, who writes in regularly talking about games. You're very serious about games. I don't think you're going to be satisfied with an S. Is I guess the overall point is that you should wait. Either wait or not get anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to consoles.
And I know he's in the Xbox. I think he's in the Xbox ecosystem. So I would just say, just wait.
On the other hand, admittedly, on the opposite side, I have a bunch of people in my Discord who have S's who love them. I don't know. Like, the thing is Game Pass, I think, is this weird fucking equalizer that, like, people are okay with downloading because it's cheaper, I guess, or something. I don't know. Maybe it's because you can get them. Maybe they're more in stock. Now that I think about it. I you know what I mean? Like maybe the X, because it is a more powerful, maybe that one's a little harder to get and people are able to get the S. I don't know.
I just think for the future, X is way more appealing if you can afford it. Because
it's a full thing.
Yeah, it's a full thing. But I also just feel like third party wise, that might be where you see some of the more stronger performances. It's seeming like at least early impressions are giving that.
And once they get the SDK figured out, it will be. But
yeah. Question 2 from Natural Calamity. I know we are taught to hate cinematic trailers, but I've been watching the old Assassin's Creed trailers, and those always give me chills. Another one I always love is the Borderlands 2 Doomsday trailer. I was wondering, what is your favorite cinematic trailer, or what trailer can you not help but love? What comes to mind, I am not a cinematic trailer guy, but I love the ESO cinematic trailers. They're like these own self-contained stories where I go, wow, an Elder Scrolls anime would be sick. That would never happen, and it should never happen. But I feel like they do such a good job with them. I enjoy those. Guilty pleasure.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Online.
That's what I was going to say.
They're unbelievable. They're at least WoW level, and I like Star Wars better. So to me, they're just like, what the fuck am I seeing? I would kill for that.
Yeah, man. Those are really good. All right, naturally, your time is done. It's on to Paco Luigi. Good day, gentlemen. Hope y'all are doing well. If you can convert an IP from another medium, such as a TV, book, song, or movie, I don't know if I said movie already, into a game, what would you choose? You can make it as simple or as complex as you want. Salud, Paco. We have answered this question, I think, a lot of fucking times on this show, haven't we? It just hit me as I finished reading.
Dude, 1,000 times.
Yeah,
I am down now into like 10 or 20 choices down because I don't want to give the other 10 I've already given.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm trying. We should put a little disclaimer on there next time and be like, let's keep the list questions for a while so we can.
This is what will help when we're able to like source more questions from patrons, for example, on like general patron posts. Is I can have a bigger write up rather than just kind of like a disconnected section on the Discord, but I know our Discord has like most of our patrons on it, and it's easier to ping everyone, just be like, hey, quickly drop something here. Or Discord, I'll message someone and be like, when I used to do game giveaways, until Patreon literally told me I couldn't. They were just like, hey.
I know.
Yeah, right? That sucked. And I was like, hey, you won a game. And they'd message me like 2 months later, hey, did I still win, by the way? Because I didn't see this. So that happens a lot.
Okay, let's answer his fucking question, though, because we didn't put the warning. So is there a new show you guys are watching, by the way? Because I need a show, too.
I've been watching Demon Slayer. That's anime. I've been watching Mandalorian. That's very popular. I imagine you've already got to that.
Would you guys want a Mandalorian game? I mean, that seems like it seems like there's a lot there that they could do.
I think, because I like the Star Wars Bounty Hunter game on PS2, and I think it was GameCube as well. But I really enjoyed that game, and so I think having one based on the Mandalorian, I almost feel like that's inevitable. I feel like it's so popular, it's got to happen eventually, or something like that. Something a little more like all I'll say is like I know Disney's very soft and stuff, but the Mandalorian is not like super gritty, but it's definitely, I think a lot of people like it because it's a grittier Star Wars, and
sure,
I think more people want that. It's the reason why more people are continuously talking about that and are interested in that compared to like Episode 9. Remember when that came out at the end of last year? I think it was like. That feels like...
Or Star Trek Discovery, where no one talks about it ever because it's such shit.
Yeah, sorry, man. It's just... I would like to see Mandalorian. Yeah, why not? That would be...
Mandalorian? I'm going to say something I don't know a lot about, but Dune.
Oh,
sounds like it. What I know about Dune sounds like it would be a cool game. Whether you just use the world or whatever.
Oh, wait, Dune. Yeah. I see. I'm still in game mode, so I'm thinking you said Doom. I'm like, wait.
D-U-N-E.
No, and Dune, I mean, originally one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like awesome books, awesome series, 2 series. So that's a good Dune would be awesome. Like that is a actually good answer. I could definitely see Dune.
Here's an off the wall. Click. Just pause the world and beat the fuck out of people.
Billy Madison, dude. What's his name?
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler with the controller. That's funny.
Pause the world.
Time Blix or Time Cat. What was Time Cat? Time Blix. Time Dick. Yeah. Yeah. Remember? Couldn't he pause the world and rewind shit.
I think
yeah,
I remember
He could rewind. Yeah,
he could rewind.
for sure.
That was a great game. I gotta get that again. That was such a good game.
That's original, isn't it? Original
That was
Xbox.
original
Yep.
Xbox.
Time
yeah.
Blix or time
Blinks to Time Sweeper, because I
Blinks
remember
to Time
Jeff
Sweeper. That's what
Jeff Keighley, funny enough, because we were talking about the show earlier, he tweeted out like he was testing Blinks on Series X. I was like, all right, I respect that. I was like, this is a good move.
gotcha.
Maddie,
So I know it runs on there.
I popped in Oblivion before we were
Oh
doing
wow,
this show on the Series X just to try it out.
that's
And,
very cool.
Still pretty jank.
Yeah,
great.
right.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to go in and adjust the INI file so the grass draws out a little bit farther than my hand.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
I'm shocked that we've gone through a next gen launch and we still have yet to hear how Bethesda is going to change like Fallout 4 or Skyrim. I was so convinced they were going to do something with mods, like, hey, we can add more mods to your game, or
right.
hey, it's 60 FPS now. At least Skyrim.
It could have been that way, but with the purchase, maybe things got clumsy.
I imagine they're holding their cards close to their chest until like the ink dries and they can put all the games on Game Pass and they could be like, hey, they run way better now. They have all these crazy additions. I think
His question real quick was about IP that we would want to see a game. This is way off the subject, but it's probably my favorite group of TV shows. I love medical TV shows like ER. I would kill it. I don't know how they would do it, but I would love for like an ER. And I know there's been a couple, but they haven't really been great. I would love for an ER game. I actually like those shows. I like the doctors trying to figure stuff out. And I liked VR Surgeon. I don't know if Dustin's played that. It's so dumb, but it's like, grab their head out of their skull and shit. I dig that stuff. I would kill for a VR, like some kind of ER medical game.
I keep thinking of like Papers, Please, but except it's like ER, like just like something crosses over and you're like, how do we figure this out?
How do we figure this out? The symptoms, like he comes in, he's complaining of a goiter, and you're trying to figure out what the fuck the issue is. What were we going to say, Dustin?
What about Trauma Center Under the Knife for Nintendo DS?
There you go. There you go.
It's like an
anime I own that
game.
I own that game, and it's terrible, by the way.
Dude, I remember thinking this game ruled, but I honestly remember nothing about it.
Yeah.
When you said anime, I would have laughed at this game, but you said anime, I'm like, wait.
You're like, oh? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, suddenly I'm a little more interested. That's sad. That's a really sad look at myself.
Pigeons that are lawyers.
Oh, a Hatoful Boyfriend?
Dude, sometimes
when
you say shit out loud, it sounds so fucking stupid. Like, if I was in a group and I was like, hey, man, so yesterday I was experiencing my media and it was about pigeons and lawyers. People be like, the fuck are you talking about?
Is that Aviary Attorney?
No, he said it's Hatoful Boyfriend.
That's a different bird.
That's a different bird one?
That's a different bird game.
More than one?
Yes, because Hatoful Boyfriend is the bird dating sim. And Aviary Attorney...
Yeah, Aviary Attorney, I think, is the one I'm talking about. Where like I remember a parrot being on the stand, and I was just like, what is this?
I'd like to highlight that Hatoful Boyfriend was the game that broke my trust in just buying games based off friend recommendations. My friend was just hey,
one for sure. This is the one.
Oh no, there's more than one bird game.
Sorry, yeah, there's more than one bird game. But what were you saying?
My friend was just like, you gotta try it out. It's actually legitimately good. I know it looks stupid, but he's dead serious. Like, you gotta give it a look. A couple of other friends hopped in and were like, you gotta do it. Like, we've all played it. It's good. I'm like, okay. This is against my my first impression, my first look, where I said, no, I'm okay.
And they were wrong?
I played 9 hours. They were very wrong.
Oh, they were wrong. Oh, 9 hours? What the fuck's wrong with you?
I kept playing it, and I was like, guys, this isn't that good. They're like, keep going. They were fucking with me. They were fucking with me the whole time. And I was just like, I said, I will never, ever trust anyone but myself to buy my own games. That was 2017.
Raw. That's so raw. That's so best friend-like.
Yes.
Right? They got your back, but they were also stabbing you in it as they're patting you.
100%. And they wasted 9 hours of my life.
Dude, 9 hours of your life like a fucking energy vampire they stole from you. They sucked it from you, and you can't get it back ever, man. Best friends.
Really sad, man.
They're awesome.
Yeah, aren't they? Last two questions. Let's rip right through them. Mac the Knife writes in, Given the Xbox Series S somewhat limited specs, do you think Microsoft is banking on the inclusion of their own version of DLSS as a way to ensure that the system does not hinder or throttle next-gen game development? I feel like DLSS could significantly help the system output a higher frame rate while pushing past the 1440p quality and instead showcasing a simulated 4K image in the future. Haven't we seen PlayStation already kind of doing a with like performance modes, like upscaling to 4K almost?
They do checkerboarding. They do checker.
Oh, okay.
It's different, but
Okay.
Microsoft did like that for X and S. Has nothing to do with S. They their version of DLSS, they'd like it for anything. If you guys, DLSS is amazing. That shit's the magic sauce of the universe. So I'm sure Microsoft would put it on a fucking iPad if they could. Like if they had their own version. It has nothing.
You'd
to do
imagine
with
Microsoft's inclusion is more likely than PlayStation's, right? Because Microsoft is more.
Yeah, Microsoft's been
PC-centric.
working on MLA for like, I think the first time I saw it was like 3 years ago. They've like been, and Sony I'm sure is working on it. Everybody is, but you can only have so many resources, right? Like if you got one Mark Cerny, so what do? You're like, Mark, man, not only are you making the PS5, but could you also, you only have a certain amount of people who are doing those things. And Microsoft's huge, so I'm sure, they've done stuff that just hasn't worked out too. I don't know. DLSS is amazing, guys. If you have an NVIDIA card, you should check out DLSS because when you first use it, you are going to wonder if your frame rate counter is broken the first time it truly works. Have you used it on anything amazing yet, Dustin? And like seen that huge, like that big jump in FPS?
Your favorite game, Death Stranding. Very good DLSS.
Oh, I have not used it on that, but that is the best. I think that's considered one of the best implementations of DLSS. Yeah. So there you go. It won't make it a good game. I'm just joking.
Yeah. Something to consider for Xbox and PlayStation actually is that since they're both running on AMD's RDNA 2, they're working on a competitor to DLSS. So whether I don't know if that's like an option for something that they could do on consoles.
But AMD. Yeah, they are.
Yeah. They're working on their own solution. So I could see that being in the pipeline.
The problem with DLSS people don't realize is it's two parts, not one. It's the part that's off-site rendering with the contestant AI, where I did a video on this yesterday, actually. And then there's the tensor cores on the NVIDIA. And the tensor cores, to be honest, were used for multiple things. And then this just happened to be the best implementation. So I don't know what's on the AMD chip. You'll probably see something where it's like, does something like it. But they did do sharpening. I don't know if you guys have had AMD video cards, but they had some AI sharpening that worked really well. But it's not the same because it doesn't add data. It just made the lower level data look better. And you guys have the LX TV, don't you, Dustin?
Oh, the LG C9.
The LG C9. Yeah. So the LG and the Samsung have really good scalers too. So if you can get like a 720p picture, it'll take it to 4K. It won't look amazing, but they're starting, and LG in particular has an AI sharpening, AI upscaling like chip. And we're starting to see that in TVs too. So all these companies are working on something, you can bet.
I think the future is for sure. The future is not native 4K or native 8K. The future is how does the image look on a 4K or an 8K, right? Like, for example, Demon's Souls is one of those games that whatever they're doing, I don't know what kind of reconstruction they're doing, but the performance mode runs in 1440p and they do some kind of upscaling to 4K. It is so good. It is way better. It is way better than whatever, last generation Horizon Zero Dawn, their checkerboard. It is way better. I don't know what it is, but to me at this point, I no longer care what resolution a game is putting out. It's what it looks like on your screen. Yep, for sure.
Interesting. Well, question 2 carries that a bit further. Similar to the first question, do you think a console DLSS method could push next-gen gaming to a consistent higher frame rate, like 120 FPS on all games without having to worry about taxing the CPU/GPU? It seems like the DLSS was implemented, it seems that if DLSS was implemented, the performance mode would be so close to on par with the fidelity mode that most gamers would not recognize the difference between the image quality of native 4K and DLSS 4K, making performance mode almost superior to fidelity mode and the go-to option, for most gamers.
No. Dustin and I have the best fucking video cards and GPUs and CPUs in the world, and we can't double our frame rate with DLSS. No fucking console version is going to magically double it. People, it's awesome, guys. It's not that fucking awesome. I mean,
Right.
like, and 120 frames per second is a lot. Like, man, people just don't get how much information you're pushing out. I do know that both companies, and Microsoft in particular, looked at Star Wars Unleashed. Did you guys play those games?
Oh, hell yeah. Force Unleashed. Those games are great.
Force Unleashed? Yeah. So Force Unleashed 2 had a frame interpolation that wasn't like TV interpolation. It was its own settings. And Horizon Forza 3, I think, did something the same where it sampled and it like figures out when to draw the frame. And I know both companies are looking at that, where it's like, how do you get 120 frames per second? Does it need to be native 120? Interpolation on your TV sucks. But AI interpolation. The thing is, guys, prepare to see AI in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we've already got
AI is the future.
AI is the future. We've already got AI in the HDR. That's how you get your HDR, is by they used AI to figure out the fake HDR in all the games. So it's going to expect to see it in everything.
All right. Well, we're nearing 3 hours, 30 minutes. So now is a good time, I would say, to wrap all of this up and get some food in our systems. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for writing in. Thank you so much for listening to our show. Certainly, it's been a decorated episode with news, discussion, and hilarious moments, like going and staring at a tree. That was incredible.
Yeah, go outside, look at a fucking tree.
For real.
I love you guys.
But that'll do it for episode 278 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast. Gentlemen, anything else you want to tag on here at the end? Or shall
hashtag
we
look at a
add the
tree.
Hashtag, yeah, that might be our easiest hashtag yet. Hashtag look at a tree.
And next week we'll be recording. Are we recording at the normal time, or do you have a normal schedule for the holiday?
Thank God you mentioned that.
Oh,
I don't know if it's going to change our release or anything like that. I don't know.
Mine
You and I have never discussed
I'm okay
it.
with normal.
I'm okay with normal, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with normal as well.
Okay.
So we're good to go. Show will be at the normal time. We will see you all, as per usual, on our early access, on our public release. Everything will remain the same. So worry not, and enjoy your food.
That's right.
For those who are celebrating, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I feel bad for not saying it in the beginning of the show, but I was not considering dates at all.
Either was I.
And with that, we will see you all next week with episode 279.
Take
Peace
your
out.
fucking pagan holiday and I'm just joking.